Hello, salutations. What it do? It's not the game. We're all father direct getting no vibes like subscribe. Let's get it. And welcome once again to the Aftershow podcast. We have a very special guest. Our third co-host has appeared. He is no longer in the kitchen cooking up that deep dish. He is here to join the panel once again. Welcome back, Casual Avenger. How you doing, my friend?
That's good. We got to talk about that SpiderMan and all this gaming news. So I had to be here.
He wouldn't miss. He wouldn't miss it for the only the great Spooder man could get Casual Avenger away from that deep dish. He couldn't absolutely not wait to talk about the Cuban flag controversy. So we also got speaking of controversy, Jay Shockblast. How you doing, Mr. Blast?
I'm here. I've survived the fanboys so far. It's wild out there, man.
I forgot Jay wears glasses now.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. I'm supposed to wear the glasses, but I don't, and I'm trying to get back in the habit.
Let me put my Spider-Man 2 Warby Parkers on, courtesy of Sony, for a second. Appreciate everyone once again for hanging out with us. We are once again live for the Aftershow podcast every Friday at 8 p.m. unless someone oversleeps. We are streaming currently on Twitch and YouTube right now if you want to watch us visually. But if you don't want to look at Jay's face, you can also listen to us on Amazon. We're also on Apple. We're on Spotify, all that good stuff. Go ahead and listen to us over there if you would be so kind. Leave us a rating, all that good stuff. But if you're watching right now, subscribe, like. If you're on Twitch, you don't have to like. I don't think you can, but leave a follow, consider subscribing. And if you want to take it a step further over on the YouTube side, you can become a member of the channel. ! Join will get you that backstage pass, which gives you access to some of these cool little channel perks. Just a little something. It's 99 cents a month. Get you some cool emotes and badges just to show that you are representing the After Show podcast. Otherwise, share all that good stuff. What's up, chat? Who we got? Who is first today? Who is first this week? Matthew McGee is first. Congratulations to Matthew McGee. You are the first chatter over on the YouTube side.
Captain gets a PS5 and suddenly can't be first.
Yep. Captain is busy playing Gotham Knights right now, probably because he just beat Spider-Man. We got Eastwood is second. What's up? What's up, my friend? Casual Avenger is third. That doesn't count. What's up, Kyle? aka Lord Keeper. We got Billy. We got Honestly, Arkham, Jay Shockblast. You don't count. And we appreciate you. What's up, Roderick? Hello. I'm gonna take these off because it's too dark. But shout out to Warby Parker for hooking me up with the sunglasses to celebrate Spider-Man 2, which is what we're going to be talking about a lot today, gentlemen. I'm assuming we all finished the game.
Oh yeah, platinum.
I've got my 19 inches right beside me.
Mine's behind me.
So of course it is. I am all ready to go. So we have a lot of Spider-Man 2 stuff we can talk about. We're also going to talk about a little bit of Spider-Man 3 as well. So first things first, I guess we can pull up this story because, to the surprise of no one, Spider-Man 2 was popular. Who would have thought?
Imagine exactly.
Despite all that marketing they didn't do. Apparently, it didn't matter.
Yeah.
If they marketed it right, we probably would have saw $3 billion.
I know, right? It's kind of funny. My whole point all along was that they could literally shadow drop this on a random Tuesday night and sell just as many copies.
Yeah.
Like it's baffling to me that people thought that there was an issue with marketing. Meanwhile, like every NBA game I've seen, there's been Spider-Man commercials. I mean, they're putting the marketing where it's supposed to be, in front of the faces that aren't already buying the game. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And Brian, it was actually Brian Interhar's idea to not show anything. Like I was watching his interview on Kind of Funny Spoiler Chat, which we'll get into because he dropped some interesting stuff there. But yeah, he basically didn't want to mark. He didn't want to show anything.
And I agree with that. I honestly feel like what they showed was more than enough. It should have been more than sufficient. The only problem is that they showed it all at once. You know what I mean?
And then it got all leaked at once.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
I'm gonna be honest. When you first said Brian, I was thinking of another Brian. I'm like, oh Lord, what did he do now?
No, not that Brian. Not Mr. B-Wags.
Had a flashback.
So there's no future confusion. If I'm referring to that Brian, I'll just call him Catman.
Fair.
Because we shouldn't definitely not confuse him with Brian, the great Brian Intihar. they're very, very different people, and very different parts of their careers, respectively. so let's get out the way. But yeah, this game, unsurprisingly, did very well. Fastest selling game ever by PlayStation. They are probably going to be competing with Hogwarts Legacy and Tears of the Kingdom for biggest sellers this year. It remains to be seen how much that momentum will keep going. They definitely, if it does keep going, they definitely have the potential to catch SpiderMan PS4 with those 33 million sold. But the launch, wasn't all perfect. All the word of mouth isn't good. There was some controversies, there was some problems. You can break them down in there are some main controversies. Some more serious than others. You had people complaining about the game being too woke. Saying, oh, everyone's gay and Mary Jane's ugly and all this other stuff. And then you had the people who were complaining, understandably, about the Cuban flag, which wasn't that big of a deal. I didn't even notice it, but
I didn't either.
That's a pretty egregious mix up oversight. But they fixed it pretty fast. And then of course the other issue is the actual state of the game, which I think is a much more valid line of critique. The game launched once again without New Game Plus or Mission Select. There were people who also wanted the ability to change the weather. All these were features in Miles Morales. They were not available at launch. James Stevenson did confirm that Mission Select and New Game Plus are coming later this year in a patch, but people would have preferred if they were present in the game at launch. In addition, there were a lot of people had various performance and issues and bugs. Some, somewhat minor and funny, like the famous Spider Cube meme that took over the internet. Some, more serious, like crashes and progress stopping bugs and audio issues and just weird stuff that kind of messed up the emotional piece of the game. So I would say that I believe that definitely had some impact on future scores. Before the reviews came out on Metacritic, I thought that the user scores for the game would be pretty high, like in the closer to the 10, and maybe the critics would be lower on that. But the critics, for the most part, were giving it 9s and 10s, and the user score was 8.9, which after playing it, I can understand why some that user score wasn't quite as high. Even the review score dropped a bit from it was as high as 92, dropped down to 90, and it just seems like it's just a reflection of just the game maybe perhaps needing about another couple months of a polish before coming out. But even in the state it released in, it was by no means a Cyberpunk 2077. I had various problems with it, but for the most part, my playthrough was pretty smooth, and I very much enjoyed the game. But I know Jay had a very minor bug at the end after he got back to the main menu screen, and he posted about it, and of course immediately got flamed on Twitter for being
I was shocked by it. I was like, I finally got this glitch that everybody else has been getting. Like, I didn't think I had to explain it that hard. I was having fun with it. Dude lost his mind.
I didn't even get that bit. That glitch. The only glitch I didn't get the cube one either. Only glitch that I had some really I crashed twice. I had this really annoying bug where because they changed it so that the Friendly Neighborhood app is now the touchpad, and for some reason, because they kind of put just everything on the swipe touchpad, so I ended up using the shortcut to change some of that. But I had a glitch where the Friendly Neighborhood Spider app would just randomly keep trying to trigger on its own. So I'd be trying to swing, and my swing would get interrupted by the Friendly Neighborhood app popping up just unexpectedly. It got really annoying after a while, and there was a point where I couldn't progress through a battle with Miles late in the game when he unlocked one of his new bioelectric powers, because you have to activate it once you first unlock it, and the game wasn't registering the button press, so I had to reload the checkpoint a couple times. But overall, those were really the only issues. The game ran very smoothly. I had it in performance mode, 60 FPS, and it looked great. But those were definitely some recurring issues that kind of affected the experience a bit. But overall, for the big parts, I didn't have any issues, fortunately.
It's wild to me. I honestly, until well after I'd already platinumed the game, I had no significant issues whatsoever, except for Superior Chris. I watched him play for a little bit. I saw he was live, so I just watched him play for a little bit because he's just a massive Spider-Man fan.
Right.
And it was the beginning of the game. I watched him immediately go into the menu and set the web swing assist to 0. And I was like, oh, okay, so that must be what everybody's doing. I'm going to go ahead and do that. And I'm like, what is going on with like the movement in this game? It's so brutal. It's so much worse. Come to find out, he did that like to make it hard.
Yeah, that's the reason why people do it. That's the skill.
I didn't realize that. I realized people were. I just thought like that was some cool thing that everybody was doing to make it faster or more fun. You
don't watch my videos, Jay or Lejeune. I explain this clearly.
No, I didn't watch either one of those videos because listen, I somehow made it through everything without a single spoiler.
I didn't put the spoilers in my videos, Jay. They were just.
I'm not saying that you did, but I just intentionally didn't watch anything from anybody.
How dare you? Unacceptable.
Well,
yeah.
I got to experience the game the way I hoped to. So,
as Brian Interhar clearly outlined, the swing assist feature starts at a 10, which is how the swinging was in all the other games, and 0 makes it much harder. So I think Caboose, even in his hands-on preview, he mentioned that
I didn't even watch that.
Explain this as well, but he said he ended up putting it on a 7. The tryhards have it on between 0 and 3
with fall damage.
Yeah, with fall damage, obviously. I had it on 3 with fall damage.
I would never. That's just nonsense.
I mean, the fall damage never comes up because skill issue, but it's just nice to have it there
until it's not. But I mean, anyway, like I made it through the whole game with honestly, like there are only 2 things that I had that I just didn't really love about the game, and that was I hated chasing those goddamn talons, and I just felt like the last fight was. I just didn't like it. Like I felt like you spent the whole game trying to learn, all these, mechanics and you get all these powers, and then you fight Venom and you just suddenly find out, oh, half of them don't work. They don't do anything. So I don't know. It was just annoying. I didn't enjoy that aspect. And even like the second part of the encounter where he gets like this over shield, I thought that I had to like defeat all the little guy minions, and then that would go away. Like I thought I couldn't damage him, so I just sat there nonstop fighting all these guys. They wouldn't go away, and then I started accidentally hitting Venom, and I'm like, oh, I have to hit him with the anti-venom stuff. Ugh. I mean, it's just I don't know, man. I just felt like, there's no explanation or anything
Sounds like a
as to
skill
that.
issue.
Yeah, I'm sure everybody would feel that way, but like I beat it just fine. That's not the issue. Like I just didn't enjoy the fight. I just thought it was kind of dumb. And honestly, though, that's like literally the only two negatives about the game to me. I mean, I do wish it was a little bit longer. I felt like it was a little bit lacking in like some of the story missions and whatnot. And
yeah, even though the thing is, and the reason why I think people were complaining about the length is because even though it's technically as long as Spider-Man PS4, Spider-Man PS4 felt like there was more to it because there kind of was like if you obviously New Game Plus and everything like that, but they had significantly more villains in Spider-Man PS4, whereas the majority of the side content was like really minor slice of life type stuff, especially for Miles. Like you had your main boss encounters during the main campaign. Then in terms of the side missions, I mean the only ones that ended in boss encounters was Mysterio and the Wraith storyline. Otherwise, you're rescuing the mascot or helping this guy ask his boyfriend to prom. You had the Haley side mission. The Howard one was really good, but it was mainly just obviously you had all the Pete Emily May Foundation drone stuff. Like it was stuff like that. Like whereas in Spider-Man PS4, not including DLC, you had a lot more encounters. Obviously, people complained about Screwball, but at least that was enemy, and that was an enemy counter. You had Taskmaster. There was a lot of villains. The whole Sinister Six. There was a lot going on in Spider-Man PS4, whereas comparatively, it felt like most of the significant action was kind of contained into the main story, and then the rest was, while the side missions were better, it definitely still felt like you would prefer they would have been a little stronger. The idea of making it more narrative focused, I think, was a good idea, but yeah, I think not having as many villains became noticeable, especially because now I'm seeing a lot of complaints is like the game has like kind of no replay value, at least compared to the other ones, and that's going to change eventually to a degree. We know that there's going to be DLC coming probably next year. They're going to have the New Game Plus later, but
do we know that though?
What, the DLC? Yeah, we do.
I mean, I feel like there a season pass with the collector's edition.
Yeah, well, they did a lot of things differently this time around. Yeah, the first time for Spider-Man PS4, they had already confirmed the City That Never Sleeps DLC before launch, and they included that with the collector's edition. But this time around, they didn't announce officially any DLC. But we do know, thanks to Naughty Jeter talking too much, that they have something coming for 2024. Tony Todd will be back. Yuri will be back as well. So I'm looking forward to it.
I saw a lot of people complaining about that on Twitter about the lack of Venom and Tony Todd, as Venom in the game. Like for such a big casting, choice, they really don't use him all that much. He's in barely 20% of the game, and it's like I feel like they're gonna make it up on the back end with DLC. So I'm pretty confident that DLC is planned centered around Venom. I don't know how they're gonna make that work narratively, because and at the end of the story, they pretty much make it look pretty definitive that Venom is gone. So it's like I don't know what the angle will be for bringing him back.
Well,
Um,
there's a lot of ways they could do with that because the big thing was that they showed that all the symbiote wasn't destroyed, and that's how they set up Carnage.
yeah,
I think is I think it's likely that Tony Todd might just straight up voice Carnage, but the fact that people were able to get at least Cletus was able to get his copy of symbiote means presumably they could easily just say if somebody else got the symbiote. It's pretty easy to write around this. Like one of the things where I was leading into it when it came to the identity event, I was like, I was wondering how they would overcome the narrative problem where they basically established at the end of the last two games that the symbiote wasn't bonding with Harry. So I'm like, if their intent was to make Harry Venom, they would have to conceivably have explain how the symbiote would end up going to him since it failed and didn't. That's why I assumed that they were going in a different direction. But when we actually got the game, they just ended up just hand waving it and like, oh yeah, it just works now, and and he's Agent Venom, and it's all fine. So I'm sure they could just hand wave it, be like, oh yeah, someone else had. So Eddie Brock, he got caught up in the whole symbiote thing, and he managed to secure a copy or something. They could figure something out. If somebody else managed to secure a sample that survived, and
yeah, like a piece of it just slipped off and ended up with Eddie Brock. Because I mean, listen, it's gotta end with like Venom has to be Eddie Brock. Like, I mean, it's cute the way they handled this. Turns out that they were lying. It did end up going to somebody who had been Venom before in the animated series.
Well, technically he said it wouldn't be like the movies or the comics, and technically Harry was not Venom in the movies or any of the comics.
Yeah. Well, it was always very obvious that it was going to be Harry. So I understand that they had to like do their best to deflect, but I don't know. I feel like, and I would have been okay.
I feel like the secrecy was unnecessary given that they completely decided not to subvert expectations in any way, shape, or form. And
yeah, I don't necessarily disagree with you. My interpretation of where they're going to go is I feel like if they are going to do anything for DLC, which I didn't really think they would, but if they do, I don't think it's going to be related to anything we see at the end of the story. I feel like what's going to happen is we're going to get a Miles Morales 2 where he has his protege, which we meet after the credits.
Cindy Moon.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if we were going to say that or not, but
yeah, we're in week 2.
Fair enough.
Spoilers are flying.
All right, so I feel like
in the game.
So I feel like we're going to see a Miles and Silk kind of game because Peter's going to take his time off to go be Peter Parker, and then he's going to come back for a 3. You know what I mean?
For the gobble.
Yeah, it's very interesting that they went with Silk over.
Actually, it makes sense when I was listening to the Kind of Funny interview with Brian, because apparently someone from the Kind of Funny kind of called it because they were like, please don't do Gwen, and the idea was basically, well, Insomniac kind of likes to do their own thing. They don't like to just do the obvious. So while Gwen would make sense because she's a much more popular character, it is kind of Insomniac's way to find a way to do their own thing and elevate them. Like before Spider-Man PS4, no one was really talking about Mr. Negative like at all, and now he's a lot more known in the mainstream in large part because of his inclusion in Spider-Man PS4. Like if you were to ask people before going into that, who would be the villains, it's like, oh yeah, the Sinister Six and Green Goblin and Venom, everything like that. And I'm sure no one would have pulled up Mr. Negative, but he ended up being a huge part of that story, and it worked out. So it is very Insomniac to go with to go with Cindy Moon as the third Spider person rather than going the Gwen Stacy route, which everyone was expecting.
And I don't hate it because like I look at what they did with Miles, especially in this game.
Mm-hmm.
Like this was like even more so than I feel Across the Spider-Verse and Into the Spider-Verse. I feel like this was really Miles's coming out party because like this was like him as more of a young adult, like less of a kid, and he really came into his own, and you could really appreciate the growth he experiences throughout the game. I love what they did with him and Mr. Negative. You know, it really
that's fantastic. That was absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, and like I feel like when I think about Marvel's Avengers, I think about what they did for Kamala Khan, right?
Mm-hmm.
They really did an amazing job with her, and I feel like Insomniac has done the same thing with Miles, where we have seen Miles like do great with, you know, with the animated stuff and everything, and he's done really well with that. But like this was like next level, you know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely. This definitely felt like the one one thing they need is give him his own name, his own code name. I like Shadow Spider, but
That's a good one.
But this definitely felt like okay, like not just giving him a different suit, but the maturity, the personality, like. He's more than just the exaggerated swagger of a black teen. Like he really came into his own in this one and had some of the bigger emotional beats of the entire game.
Okay, so I'm gonna put both of y'all on the spot. What did you think of Miles' new suit at the end of the game?
Oh my god, I was just about to say that, but then I wanted to pause to make sure you didn't want to jump in. Let me start as the one that's probably gonna get the most flack for my opinion, I guess. I actually really like it a lot. And I actually don't hate like the dread showing, but like I do wish there was an option to put the hood up because I actually think it looks better that way. Like I would say the same thing if Peter had a suit where his hair was showing. I kind of feel like that is not helpful when it comes to secret identities. Especially when your hair is like very distinctive. Like that's a distinctive look.
Yeah.
So that's me.
This is a rarity, but I agree with Jay that the suit looks cool. Like when I first unlocked it during the stream, I was very excited and I was impressed by it and immediately destroyed some symbiotes because I personally even with the symbiote powers and everything like that, I just had more fun playing with Miles. In terms of the combat, he's just so much fun.
I didn't even notice. He's 100% broken in that game, bro. I'm on the opposite side of the fence though. It's like I'm not
traitor
wage on the internet hate for it, but it's like I can appreciate the aesthetic they were going for. I can see the inspiration from like Gwen Stacy's Across the Spider-Verse design in his suit design. I don't know. I feel like most of my issues with it are primarily centered around mask. Like the top of his head looks like a teacup or something. It's like I don't. Is the vibe is off with that. I snatched that off as soon as I could. I wish when they introduced New Game Plus that we're not necessarily forced to wear that. I know it makes sense narrative wise, but it's like I don't care. I've been wearing crazy outfits the whole game during cutscenes. Yeah. Let that play out, even through the end. Like I said, I'm not, I'm too laid back to be extremely hating about it or anything like that. But it's like it's not the worst thing ever, but it's just not for me.
I think it would look better with the hood, but I think for me is like Miles just had overall so many cool suits that I wasn't even though I like that suit, I didn't stick with many in particular because I was just constantly switching between different ones because I thought he had overall way more interesting suits than Peter did. Like Peter's basically if you like the movies, you're gonna really like the stuff Peter has, but for Miles, I thought they just really went there. Like the Dark Ages suit, fantastic. The Mysterio Power Rangers suit, style is unbelievable. I absolutely love that White Ranger's fit, the Wolverine suit. Like he has the Wakanda Forever suit. Like he has so many great outfits that I'm constantly just bouncing around between them, and I feel like I want them to definitely expand Pete's to include some more like interesting comic stuff to kind of match Miles's vibe.
Yeah, I feel like they kind of. I don't want to say drop the ball because I know I've seen a lot of people appreciating all of those skins. So a lot of those deluxe edition skins that got introduced, I've seen people like just having a ton of fun wearing and rocking it. I wouldn't say the majority of people are enjoying it as much, but somebody out there is enjoying every skin. You get what I'm saying? And it's like, but at the same time,
oh, go ahead. Sorry,
no, go ahead, Joe. You go.
I was say it's crazy. I actually didn't use the DLC skins like almost at all the whole game.
Same. Like I got the only thing I used from the deluxe edition were the skill points.
Yeah,
because by the time because Sony sent me the game at like 7 a.m. on Thursday, and my collector's edition didn't arrive until after the afternoon of the 20th. Jay's arrived much later, which we'll get to in a minute. But by the time I was able to load my deluxe edition, I already had the web grabber. So I was like, okay, well, I just take the skill points. So but I never once put a deluxe edition fit on.
That's like that. I like I said, my biggest takeaway from it. I think I shared that when I was on Doom's podcast, but a lot of those suits are just over designed. It's like it's SpiderMan, so it's like even when he does crossover themes like the Punisher SpiderMan suit, it's like it sticks to the original theme. It's just a different aesthetic. You can see the Punisher vibes there, but it still feels like Spider-Man. A lot of this stuff just feels like they let a stylist go wild, and it's like, bro, what are we doing? Like, what is all this for Spider-Man? I don't need all of that.
Well,
definitely shout out to Kyle for the correct take. TASM 2 suit is the superior.
Well, I can't take it off.
I refuse to use any of the Raimi suits.
Raimi suits are garbage.
Internet weirdos absolutely ruined that suit for me forever.
Did you just say the Raimi suit is garbage?
Raimi suit is garbage.
They have to actually boot him off the podcast. That's blasphemy.
It's the worst black. They have the worst black suit in the game.
I love it that you reacted kind of the same way when you got the smoke and mirrors suit that I did. That White Ranger suit.
That was the only correct way to respond to that. Absolute fire.
Yeah,
that suit and the suit you get for completing the flame mission chain. If you put that in white, that looks like the White Ranger as well. The Wraith suit.
Yeah, that was my favorite suit in the game. I've done my top 10 favorites for each of them, but I have my list for like my top 10 period, and it's like 6 miles for Peter, and Smoke and Mirrors is by far and away my favorite suit in the game.
The man's not wrong. The Lucky Raccoon is not wrong.
Also, yes, 1,000 times better. The base Raimi, the regular web Raimi suit is dog water.
I actually really like that Final Swing suit too. Yeah,
Final Swing suit is beautiful.
You know what my favorite Peter suit was though? Like, and it's actually kind of crazy. I love the just the regular Symbiot suit, but like the animated series variant where it's got a little bit of the red and the blue highlights.
The classic, the classic.
I just love that suit for some reason.
They're fantastic. They're fantastic.
Yeah, like I wore that all like that subtle blue and red. It just pops.
Yeah, like soon as he went AntiVenom, I was like, oh yeah, okay, cool, AntiVenom. And then I checked and saw I unlocked the classic. And as soon as I looked at the suit styles, I immediately switched to the AntiVenom classic design because it does look way better than
I went straight for the '90s Venom inspired one with the blue and red.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, those are all great. Those are all great. But yeah, for the sake of the story, I went with the white classic before I switched to the other ones.
So how did you guys feel about the anti-venom part of the story? Like, how did you feel about that angle?
I mean,
it makes sense.
I thought it made. I mean, I knew it was coming. As soon as I when they mentioned Eddie Brock was not going to be Venom, I immediately assumed that AntiVenom was going to pop in. I even made a video about it, and then when I saw Martin Lee pop up in the story trailer, I knew, oh, they're definitely doing AntiVenom. I just didn't know who they were. I just wasn't sure who was going to be, but I think it made sense given the story and how they're making Venom this really insane and powerful figure. Like Peter had to have some kind of one up, and I think it's better than just coming up with some kind of gadget that completely neutralizes Venom. I think I like the idea, especially with the whole symbiote nest thing. I think it's cool that Peter has that anti-Venom vibe. I thought it was a cool little twist on it, but because originally I thought, and the way I thought it should have went was Harry be the anti-Venom and Norman be the main Venom, because I thought they were going to kind of subvert the anti-Venom storyline where Eddie Brock is sick and gets healed by Martin Lee, but having Martin Lee be the one to heal Harry, and it ended up making Harry the anti-Venom. I thought that would have been more. I thought that would have been more interesting.
It's like I saw that coming a mile away, because you have to, if you take away the symbiote powers from Peter, people are going to complain because now he's completely being outclassed by Miles. Even with the symbiote powers, he's outclassed by Miles.
100%.
But it's like, as a Peter Parker fan, is like, I'm cool with it. I feel like ultimately we would have been better served if you literally had a choice in the matter. So like, you can strip off the symbiote powers and go completely technical with the arms and everything, and then they should have just threw in a surge ability for the arms, or some kind of tech-based surge ability, so you still get a power-up. It's just based in technology instead of dependent on the symbiote, because I feel like that was the main story takeaway in the comics and in earlier stories, where all right, I no longer had a symbiote, now I have to outsmart Venom, I have to work harder and all this other stuff. And it's like, as a player, that would make the game a little more challenging, because even with the symbiote, like I said, Venom was a harder fight with Peter. With Miles, I beat that guy in like 60 seconds, honestly.
Yeah. I was just zipping around, going invisible, doing the thunder dive bomb. Like
I blazed him.
Because you got the upgrade where you could do it twice for free.
Yeah, his focus builds up so much faster. His surge ability builds up so much faster. It's like, bro, you're cheating.
Yeah.
You literally
really, I felt like the Flash at some point. Like I was like, I was in the symbiote nest, like, because it was literally like night and day. When I was anti-Venom Peter, I was like swinging around like, ooh yeah, okay, boom, and ooh. Then when I switched to Miles, when he got the new suit, I was just like,
yeah, it's like,
just had him out of there in like
you can go ahead, James. I'll see you.
Oh, so while we're talking about suits, have you seen like the 4 designer series suits?
Trash. I'm not gonna say trash. Not for me. They're not for me. They are not for me.
The designer series.
Yeah.
I'll see them in motion. I need to see them in motion. I'll say that.
The one on the far right is like a Brazilian soccer player. The one next to that, so going right to left, the white weird one is some designer.
This man got a zipper.
The middle left one is like an F1 driver.
I don't like any of them except the one that kind of looks like Spider Ghost Rider. That one looks like it could be kind of cool.
The one with the helmet?
Without the helmet, the leather jacket.
Yeah, I forgot. Yeah. Designed that one.
Yeah, I forgot who designed that one too. I think it's like a musician, like some Japanese singer.
Yeah, that looks kind of okay. I would if I honestly if they added these to the game, I wouldn't wear any of them. But
they are being added to the game.
When they added them,
I don't know, but they announced that these 4 people, for whatever reason, were were chosen to design suits
Yeah,
that would be in the game.
I think they're going to introduce that with the new game plus update.
Yeah.
Maybe
I'll try the black leather jacket one because that looks like it might be cool in action. But yeah, the rest of them, I don't know about. Especially the white one looks like I wish they had better concept art sketches because these look like extremely like the white one that looks like a extremely I'll say, to be generous, early sketch. Like I'm wondering what like a more advanced concept or maybe like on the actual model looks like because like the pants look like really baggy. Is that
but here's the thing?
intentional?
It is intentional because I looked at the artist or not the artist. It's actually a fashion designer, and I looked at his like actual like stuff that he sells, and it's right in line with what he does. The baggy like pants is intentional.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of that.
I'm assuming that one is going to be from Miles, and like I said, I can see what you're going for with the Ghost Rider style one and the F1 series. That looks like it's going to be in line with the Mark armors. The fashion one is like I feel like we lost sight of the fact that this is supposed to be Spider-Man, bro. Like,
right?
It's just Spider-Man. Like he don't need to do all that, man. Like if you're gonna do a coat style design, just give him, it's New York. Give him a puff and some Tims. It's you good. Keep it simple.
Yeah.
But,
I might swing around the Brazilian one a little bit, but
I mean, I get that one. I mean, that one makes sense, and it's just a Spider-Man suit with Brazilian colors, really. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's like I said, I'm willing to give him the benefit of the doubt until I see him like in-game design or at least see it in motion.
And you know what's funny though is like this is actually like the second game in the last month or so that has had a Brazilian suit. Mortal Kombat 1 had a Brazilian like skin set that you could get for Tanya, and look, Brazil's a huge country, obviously.
Yeah, I remember them doing that for Mortal Kombat X. I believe they had some Brazilian skins in that one.
Yeah, so I found those to be I wouldn't honestly wear any of them other than to make a video, but
I think they're making that, for fans like Lucky Ray Gun who are, just passionate about fashion and Spider-Man. So.
I mean, that makes sense. Like, I mean, but it's mainly because there's so many great suits already in the game. Like, that's why I didn't end up using any of the DLC ones because it's like
it's clear though why playing this why Avengers never got a symbiote suit, right? Like, it's clear now.
It's not clear
because there's like 40 symbiote suits in this game. That's why.
I mean, they got one in Fortnite around the same time, so it was
a black suit. Yeah, and that's Fortnite, the biggest game in the world at the time.
Yeah, literally, it was because we assumed it was because Marvel looked at Avengers like, yeah, no.
I just feel like they didn't want to oversaturate, and I also feel like
I think they just said, yeah, no, we're not doing this. I think that was also Square Enix's fault because they made that deal with Sony to get to get Spider-Man into the game, but they didn't make sure that deal included the rights to use any of the skins because not only did they not have the black suit and Fortnite they didn't have a single No Way Home suit, not a one. Like the whole point of the Sony deal was Sony wanted to have Spider-Man in this game because they knew they were going to be promoting No Way Home, so they wanted to have that extra marketing, but they for whatever reason didn't secure it so that they would also be able to capitalize on No Way Home. They didn't have one skin. The closest they had was the upgraded suit, and that's only because it was in Far From Home, but also technically in the first scene of No Way Home.
I feel like they just gave them that one, those skins. So it's like you can have Homecoming, you can have Far From Home, just for the sake of saying we gave you something out of this deal. But we're not obligated to give you, the No Way Home skins at this point because it wasn't negotiated beforehand. And it's like,
that's why I don't think it was like any desire to limit the visibility of Symbiot. So I think they literally just was like, yeah, we don't really mess with Avengers like that.
But I think that even before that, it was just a suit that was rare for them to put out there, and I kind of feel like because
why did Midnight Suns get
it was a Midnight
Mobile
Suns.
games have it. It's like
Mobile games
everybody
have it,
gets it
Midnight
except for
Suns
the
have it.
Avengers. Everybody
The
got
common denominator is that everyone else, Fortnite had it, Midnight Suns had it, the mobile games have it. The common denominator is like, oh, everyone just Avengers just didn't have it. Like everyone else got No Way Home suits. You had the Symbiot elsewhere. The only one left out here was Avengers. I think the clear hint there is that they just didn't want to do business with Avengers. They just like, we don't want to be seen. We don't want to be associated with this.
It's all speculation. It's like
yeah,
I don't know. When what's that guy? I forgot the brand manager for their studio name, but when he came on Reddit and said they a lot of the skins people want, they flat out got told no for. I'm like, bro, I've never heard that in gaming.
Oh, Nick.
yeah, I forgot his name.
CD Nick E. Yeah, they
like, bro.
Yeah, they literally were told no. Like, I think that's literally what happened. They were like, hey, No Way Home suits. Yeah, we want to promote that. Can we get nope? What about the Symbiot? Nope. Can we get a Far From Home? Yeah, you can have that. I saw they had Black Widow that I think they literally released Black Widow the week that No Way Home came out. They released the new Black Widow skin. literally the week that happened. That was wild. So, yeah. So another thing that came about with this whole Spider-Man 2 brouhaha was a tease of the future. We got a little bit into it, in terms of the end of the game. But Brian Intihar was talking about kind of he gave a little tease of their roadmap, and he mentioned on the Kind of Funny show, and I had a quote here. I think if Spider-Man 1 and Spider-Man Miles Morales was like Iron Man and Spider-Man 2 was like a Captain America Civil War, where do you go? Where do you go from here? I think it'd be pretty epic, but we'll see. And he went on to mention that the next game will basically kind of be their end game. He said that's what he said on the kind of funny podcast. So obviously some people immediately took that to assume, oh, Peter's going to die, but I mean, they are kind of nudging Peter out the door, as we saw at the end. But I don't necessarily think he'll die. I explained it in my video where I think they will try to kind of edge him out of the door and have some other Spider characters lead the series going forward after Spider-Man 3. But I think most likely they're going to leave Peter alive so that they have that option to bring him back. But I do think they're going to experiment with more games where he's not playable.
I feel like the formula is so simple, and they've already done it. You've got the main game, Marvel's Spider-Man 1, 2, 3, whatever, and that is always going to have Peter at the center of it. And honestly, I felt like this was a 50-50 game too, and I think that's fair for both of them. But Peter Parker is Spider-Man, like the character exists because of him, and like that is the main pull. And then you have the side game, which Miles does with Cindy, or Miles does with Gwen, or Cindy does with Gwen, or Spider-Woman gets introduced, or there's a lot of ways you could do it. But you have that kind of side game, and then you all bring them all back in together again. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's why I think they're going to go with Spider-Man. I think Spider-Man 3 is where we're going to have Cindy, Miles, and Peter all be playable, and they're going to be like kind of working together to deal with the Green Goblin.
My predictions are, I think with Peter, kind of taking a step back, while still saying he'll be active if Miles needs him, but he's primarily going to be focusing on his life, which that brother definitely needs to. His mortgage is almost $5,000 a month. And he just got a ton of property damage.
That's wild. That's
for you.
I saw someone do I saw like a real realtor do an analysis of Aunt May's house, and he advised Peter, please sell because there's absolutely no way I think he ran the numbers. Peter would have to be making like $13,000 a month to afford that place.
Which he can. He's a genius. It's like, you're literally a genius.
He should, but he's allergic to money. I mean, but the weird thing was that in the story, Mary Jane offered to cover Aunt May's place. Like she said, I can cover the rent for a few months, and I was thinking for a little bit, and I was thinking, wait a minute, you work for you're a reporter at the Daily Bugle, and you have your own apartment in the city. How can you afford to cover $4,000 a month mortgage and your New York apartment rent? and your living arrangements? Like, how much money do they pay you at the
Don't think about it. Just press buttons.
The dying print media.
Yeah, the only to be fair, this does seem to exist in a parallel universe where the Daily Bugle is like the only newspaper in New York City, and people still actually read the physical paper. They still have like podcasts, but for some reason, the paper is still something that moves, and they don't seem to have any competition. So it's definitely possible. I know plenty of journalists who are hilariously overpaid to do work. So I think Mary Jane, if she was a staff writer, I think it's conceivable that she could be making over $100,000 a year if you consider the Bugle is basically the size of the New York Times, except with less competition.
I mean, but going back to my prediction, I feel like he will be pretty retired. I don't know how they're going to handle his story in the DLC, or if they do a spinoff Miles game part 2. But I feel like the motivation of bringing Norman as the full-blown Green Goblin will be, now that he knows Peter's identity, which I'm pretty sure he's going to discover that at some point in the story, he's going to be the one that brings Peter out of retirement by attacking him directly. And I don't know if Mary Jane is essentially going to become the new Gwen Stacy, especially with this supposedly being the last game. So it's like, I don't know if that's the route they want to go. You still got the Spider-Verse angle you can try to work in. So they're probably negotiating something with that on the back end. We still don't know what their multiplayer game is going to be. There's plenty of routes you can go. I don't think killing Peter has to be the choice you make, especially with him already kind of being demoted as Spider-Man in this game. It's like, don't do that to the OG Peter Parker fans.
Yeah, you don't need to do that. The Spider-Verse thing is interesting. Like, they fully on just embraced it, which is cool. But I think they're more likely to have them Peter kind of be settled down with Mary Jane rather than just straight up kill him off. I think that's much more likely and a better way, less controversial way of doing it.
Wait, did you say kill off Mary Jane?
No, just let them both kind of live. Like, let them.
Yeah, I think it'd be more likely that he would do the reverse Gwen Stacy on Mary Jane. You know what I mean?
What, die saving himself?
No. Like Norman would basically kill Mary Jane. It'd be like, instead of Gwen Stacy dying, it would be
Mary. There's no way they killed Mary Jane.
That's what I'm saying. I could see it that they're doing their own thing there. They killed Aunt May in the first game, and she was relatively young. So it's like, I don't know. I wouldn't put it completely out of the wheelhouse. And Norman, when he gets that G serum in him, he's gonna be on demon time.
I think the odds are higher of Mary Jane defeating Green Goblin with her super taser than Insomniac killing off Mary Jane.
I'll say this: I don't think both Mary Jane and Rio come out of Spider-Man 3 unscathed. Somebody's not coming home.
I'm just saying.
I think they both come out. I think they'll both be fine. Though the interesting thing is that everyone's just assuming Norman is going to be the Green Goblin, and I think that there's a strong chance of that. But remember, the Goblin serum is being given to Harry first.
Is it?
Yeah. Norman specifically says, in his strategy of getting Harry out of the coma is to give him that new serum. He mentions that it's ready. It's almost ready. So the serum is going to be given to Harry in order to get him out of that coma. So it's very possible that Harry ends up being the G-Man, or maybe it doesn't work and Norman in desperation tests it on himself, and that's how he becomes Green Goblin.
I think that's more likely. I think Harry's dead.
I don't think he's dead. I don't remember hearing dialogue about him planning to use the G serum on Harry. I know that was initially what it was planned for, but I didn't hear the dialogue about him using it in the coma.
Yeah, it was over while he was looking at crying over in the hospital. He mentioned that they were going to be using the serum on him.
Okay. But I think
only if you wear a Miles suit.
I don't think he.
Sure.
Honestly, I don't think he's going to be able to kill this version of Mary Jane because she has a gun and she got some new moves in this game. So she's clearly going to take him down.
She took out at least 50 trained Craven mercenaries during this entire run.
And they definitely made her like it more interesting anyway. Like I saw people are still complaining about it, and it's like, I mean, it made sense in the story. You know what I mean? Like had like, oh, she's a reporter. Well, yeah, she's investigating the situation. Like,
I think they definitely obviously a lot of people said they didn't want the Mary Jane missions at all, and Insomniac kind of found a way to split the difference. Like, yeah, they obviously want them, but they wanted to still give the fans a good experience. So they said, okay, we won't get rid of them, but we'll decrease the amount of them, have them be very relevant to the plot, and improve them so they're more fun to do. Which I think they were. I like that Mary Jane had much better offensive capabilities this time around because it definitely made those missions a lot more enjoyable than they were before, and they all made sense very much to the plot.
Like in a grand scheme of things, we all want to thwip our way around the city, but like,
of course,
is it really the end of the world that we did some investigative journalism with Mary Jane, and she just happened to have that special taser gun that Peter whipped up for her?
I was disappointed that we didn't get to play as Wraith, though.
I was going to touch on that. Before that, I will say with Mary Jane, I feel like she was a lot better written in this game versus the first game. The first game, it felt like she kept inserting herself into situations out of a need to feel important while also berating Peter for having to save her. And it's like, bro, you're literally putting yourself in life or death situations. And when it goes wrong, you're jumping off buildings and calling Peter. And, when it goes wrong, you're calling Peter, but also feeling like he's wrong for feeling like you shouldn't be in these situations.
Oh, yeah. She was extraordinarily annoying in the first one, for sure.
Yeah. And I'm baffled by the hatred for this, like, 7 or 8 minutes Haley mission, as I said on Twitter, like, I am hearing impaired. I've had 12 operations on my ears. I've had both of my eardrums completely reconstructed. I live with a hearing loss every day. It's not something I talk about a lot. And it's not something that I need to make a huge deal about. I don't need that. Like I'm not one of those people that's like, oh, Hawkeye's hearing impaired, go me. You know what I mean? Like, I don't need that. But there are a lot of kids out there that do appreciate it. And one of the things I think that really resonated with me was that I really do feel like with that mission, they did a really good job of making people understand what it's like to not be able to hear. Like there was no noise, you were really and truly experiencing it through her lens.
It was subtle, but it was very like there was sounds, but they were very muffled.
Right.
And I thought that was the sound design is one of the things that if you go back through my whole YouTube career, I don't think I've ever praised a game's sound design ever before. But Spider-Man 2 sound design was so good, I had to just acknowledge it because it was truly fantastic. Like from the moment we got the symbiote and you got to use surge mode for the first time, that's when I really noticed how just brilliant it was done.
I peeped it well before that. You can go ahead, Jay.
No, I was gonna say, but like that muffledness, like that felt so familiar to me because like the reason I've had to have so many operations is because I get these things. I haven't had them in a long time, but when I was a kid, I used to just get like fluid buildup behind my eardrum, and we'd have an operation. They put in these little things called tubes, and it would open up to help the fluid drain from behind my eardrum. And like as an adult, I don't do that anymore. I've learned, take take certain over-the-counter medications that are, essentially like decongestants and stuff, and that will help free me up a little bit. But like there are times that like my ears get blocked up and I can't hear. Like I can't hear like much of anything. And it's frustrating, and it felt like that. And there's a girl that follows me, that's followed me for a very long time on Twitter, and I know that because we've talked privately, like she's talked about how she is deaf, and it's one of the reasons why I hate subtitles personally. But it's one of the reasons why sometimes I do leave them on. No, I don't like subtitles. I for a lot of reasons. But I feel like they're distracting from the presentation personally. But anyway,
I watch all my anime subbed.
Yeah, but I just understand and just like that's a little look into what it's like, and I can just vouch for it, like because like when I'm driving and there's an ambulance, or a siren or something like that, I don't have perception of where it's coming from. Like there could be sounds and I don't know where it's coming from. You know what I mean? So like there's little things like that I live with, and I really feel like they, like you said, to praise the sound team, they did a really good job of it. I hope people that, just for that like 10 minutes or less that you play that mission, like understand that is definitely the way people live.
If nothing else, you get XP for it. So it's like, you're getting rewarded for it. You get to see another person's vantage point who lives in this world. I really don't see a downside to playing that mission, and it's completely optional. If you don't want to play that mission, you do not have to go start that mission and see that through. If you start it and you see you don't want to do it, abandon mission and go do something else. There's literally no reason to have controversy or outrage about a mission that is, the game is trying to serve as many people as possible. That's what they initially did with the first game, where they recognize, all right, well, this time we're underserving some more hardcore fans with the web swinging and everything like that. But their initial approach was to make it as accessible to everybody. So a 5-year-old can pick up that game for the first time with no experience and swing around just fine, as well as a dude who's 35, 40 years old, been playing Spider-Man his whole life, and can pull off some sick tricks and all of that stuff. They just want the game to be as accessible to everybody as they can, and they took it a step further with this game, and then they just had a little fun side mission showcasing a little bit more of what they can do and how this character is a little more than an NPC in this world. And it's like, I don't get the outrage, but it's the internet. We got to complain about something, and that's what we're gonna do. So
I will say, Haley better watch out for Cindy though.
Mal's got the stepsister content coming up real soon.
Cindy, we're about to have a side mission where Cindy gets stuck in the washing machine.
I hate the way that they designed her sometimes. Like for people that don't know enough about Silk, she like emits these like pheromones or something that like makes the spider people like fall in love with her.
Yeah.
And she's supposed to be like 16 or something.
Yeah, the people said to keep her away from Peter. It's like, yeah, they're not going that route in this one. Peter is going to jail.
Yeah, I think the implication was when he brought her to dinner was that she was basically the same age as Miles. So
yeah.
So I think they're gonna chill.
Yeah,
at least when it comes to the Peter.
I think Miles is essentially going to just be the Peter to her Miles. Yeah. So he's going to train her a little bit.
Yeah, I think I would personally be surprised if Insomniac even had that as one of her abilities. I think they're just going to have this be a pretty straightforward mentee relationship.
Yeah, or she could just already be experienced. She has her secret, and now she's gonna bust out full blown Silk running around.
She could also just be a homewrecker.
Yeah, that too. Her and Rio and the father don't work out, and Miles and Cindy spend a lot of time on rooftops together.
You had to know that based on how much they mention that she's dating, that it was gonna be somebody. You know what I mean?
I thought it was gonna be Cletus Cassidy.
I thought it was gonna be Norman.
Whoa.
Oh no way! What? Why would you think Why would she date Norman Osborn?
I don't know, but I thought it was going to be I thought it would be something bad like that.
There's absolutely no way. There's absolutely no fucking way she would ever date.
But at the point that I thought that, okay, like there was no other baddie in the game because I did all the flame missions were the absolute last missions that I did in the game.
She would more likely date Martin Lee than fucking Norman Osborn.
I doubt that actually.
I personally
that was the only bad person that there really was, or it was gonna be Craven. You know,
Norman? Really? Come on, it's Norman.
I know, but like I thought it was gonna be somebody bad. Basically, I didn't think it was gonna be somebody good.
I don't think she's dating Craven. He got a permanent headache.
No, I get that, but like at that point in the story for me, that
Chameleon would make more sense. They literally teased him.
Yeah,
because he could literally be anybody.
Yeah. Well, I did all the side mission stuff at the end, so I hadn't seen Chameleon yet. I hadn't seen Cletus yet, or whatever name he's going by. I hadn't seen any of them yet, so I didn't even know they were in the game. And because I did such a great job of not getting spoiled, I also didn't know they were in the game. Because trust me, the last thing I want to do is those freaking Talon chases. I hated the pigeons too, so it adds up. It tracks.
Good thing you didn't look at the credits because too closely, because they definitely did put Cletus in there. If you didn't,
I gotcha.
If you didn't finish that side mission first, you would have been spoiled. Like, what? Cletus Cassie's in this?
Yeah, I didn't watch that much. No,
but you did. I mean, you did have something to say about the credits.
I did, yeah.
Specifically, Jay actually made a whole video about it, complaining. This was a thing on Twitter for a little bit, and Jay weighed in on it. Essentially, Donny Cates and Ryan Stegman were apparently not included in the end credits in terms of like an acknowledgement or thank you, and obviously they were very influential on the story because obviously if you finish the game, you know the whole null thing, the symbiote monsters, the wing venom, everything like that, straight out of their work, and there were no acknowledgement. But to be fair, I don't know if anyone actually did the Insomniac confirm they didn't shout them out, because I, as someone who actually sat through the credits, I don't remember most of who I saw, because literally those credits were 20 minutes long, and I have a hard time believing everyone sat through looking.
I watched them. I went through them twice just to make sure I didn't look like an idiot before I made that video.
Bless you, because holy shit.
Yeah,
holy
trust
shit,
me. Trust me. They thanked everyone. They thanked like Marvel's lawyers. They thanked like literally everybody, but Donny Cates and Ryan Stegman. And I also kind of trust that Donny Cates is aware of like what communication he's had. He's certainly it's certainly clear he didn't get paid anything for it, which I don't know that I'm necessarily advocating for that, because I kind of feel like once you write for Marvel, like you are basically signing over your work to them. That's an entirely different thing. Like, right,
because they're like with and obviously Marvel does their best to screw those people out.
Yes.
Well, but yeah, in general, the way it works is if you created a character or something like that, like if you for DC, like somebody who like if DC made a movie where it's like, oh yeah, we're gonna use Darkseid. Well, whoever created Darkseid would get a fat royalty check. That would be typically how that would work. But if you were hired to write a Darkseid story, well, then that's a different thing, because you don't own Darkseid. You don't own that. You don't own any of that. That obviously the creator of Darkseid would, assuming they still have those rights, would own Darkseid, and your obligation would basically be to create whatever Marvel hired you to create, and you would be paid, and that would be it. Royalties were not necessarily a thing unless it was connected to like sales of the books, if you negotiated that. But usually when it comes to creatives and like that, yeah, unless you own the character, that's not happening. And Marvel does their best to kind of just like, okay, we're going to hire you to work on the story, but this is our IP. You don't own IP.
Right, right.
You're working a story. As from my understanding, they wrote the story, but I don't believe they actually own any of the characters.
Yeah, they don't own the characters, but like I feel like you can't write a story like that. It like if you write a story and you base a part of it off of someone else's work, you have to acknowledge it.
Oh yeah,
And
the Insomniac's done before. You know, they shout out Dan Slott all the time. You know.
Yeah, and I just feel like
so I think that was a fair critique.
I feel like, especially with how heavily they leaned into, Absolute Carnage, King in Black, and the just general Venom run.
They literally have the Absolute Carnage suit in the game.
Right, exactly. And to answer this question, Donny Cates created Null. Like that is a character that Donny Cates created. They didn't use Null in this, but like a lot of the
they used a symbol, but yeah, they didn't.
Right. Yeah. So like a lot of the stuff that they used was from those runs, and and again, I did mention, it's not like they cited the creator of Miguel O'Hara and Scarlet Spider and everything, but I just think back to what Guardians of the Galaxy did, in their suits. There was like a whole list of book stories, where it came from. I'm not saying they had to do that, but I do feel like a lot of that final act was straight out of the mind of Donny Cates, and I don't know if he deserved any sort of compensation. I'm not necessarily advocating for that, but I do kind of feel like you thank so many people.
Yeah,
I don't understand how you don't.
Yeah, I don't think legally he'd be entitled to any compensation, but
well, I don't know the contracts, but you're right. You're probably right. I mean,
yeah, because
I agree with what you're saying,
because they didn't use any of the character because they didn't use any of his IP, but they did use ideas from his story, and we don't know his particular contract,
right?
Marvel, but yeah, I understand acknowledgement would have been appropriate.
I just feel like and again, I did say this in my video. I feel like maybe it's contractually obligated that anytime Spider-Man is in some kind of license, you have to acknowledge Steve Ditko and Stan Lee. They also referenced Brian Michael Bendis and Sarah Pichelli, I think it is, as the creators of Miles.
But
I don't.
But to play devil's advocate, Jay, you are a grown ass man worrying about another grown ass man.
Yeah, exactly. Oh my god, that like I kind of feel like you lose the ability to say something like that if you're gonna leave 11 comments over the course of an hour. Like, that was
YouTube,
wild.
They call that hyper engagement, so that's a good thing, Jay.
I mean, you would think, except that video did nothing.
I mean, to be fair, Jay, you can barely see any faces in the thumbnail. I mean, where's the big YouTube head with the, where's the big red letters? Where's the controversy? You gotta put something stronger there. Like Insomniac ruins, Insomniac stole. You gotta.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I'm actually quite disappointed in the last two games did great for me, and I know that it's way more oversaturated now, but I don't know.
It makes sense. Spider-Man 2 is could end up being the biggest game of the year. A lot of people covered it. So yeah, it made sense that
shockingly, my second best video is Find Grandpa.
I mean, to be fair, Find Grandpa
great mission.
Fantastic mission.
Yep, agreed.
Howard
I don't know the answer to this, but I'm sure you guys did it with Miles, but is that one of those ones where you could do it with either one of them?
Yeah, I did it with both. On my first playthrough, I did it with Miles. On my second playthrough, on my first playthrough, I did it with Peter. On my second playthrough, I did it with Miles.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I didn't start my second playthrough yet, but I did the Howard mission with Peter because the chat was like, oh, you should do it with Peter. I was like, yeah, that makes more sense because Peter actually is the first one to meet Howard.
Yeah, I did that one with Peter, and I did the Grandpa one with Miles, and I thought they both made a lot of sense that way.
I did them both with Peter.
Interesting.
Yeah, I didn't.
But,
I'll try. I'll try next on my next one too. But the other thing that Brian dropped in his little press tour was a little interesting. Something that I knew already or assumed was the case because I did a deep dive into this a while ago, but we did officially get some confirmation and it got people talking. Brian Intar did in fact confirm that Wolverine takes place in the same universe as their Spider-Man games. They're all in one big shared Marvel universe, and there is an Easter egg in the Wolverine trailer that has the universal designation in it. It's behind the bar. I did a breakdown of this, so I assume that Wolverine did in fact take place in the same universe as the Spider-Man game. So that is nice to have that confirmation. But now people are speculating about what Insomniac is going to do. I saw Stardust made a video about them possibly doing a Fantastic Four multiplayer game. So I will say in regards to the multiplayer thing, the multiplayer game Insomniac is working on is not a Marvel game. I've seen that circulated a little bit. I saw someone bring up a quote from a supposed insider. It was on like the Xbox podcast. I think it was came from 2021, and he said their sources saying that they believe that Insomniac might be working on a multiplayer Marvel project. This is before like they had. This is when we first started getting job postings for that multiplayer game, and we still didn't have a lot of information. But in a later job posting in 2022, it was confirmed in the posting that they are hiring for an original IP on that particular multiplayer project. So Insomniac may do a multiplayer game in future with Marvel. They may do I think it's likely they will do a Marvel game in the future besides Wolverine and Spider-Man related. But for now, it looks like it's just Wolverine, whatever is next for Spider-Man, and that original IP multiplayer project.
I think people are already gonna give it another week, and people will start wondering where the marketing for Wolverine is.
Oh yeah, give it because once people are finished their ultimate playthrough, they're going to they're going to be waiting for New Game Plus. They're going to have nothing to do, so they're going to be like, all right, well, time for Wolverine. Where's that marketing? Where's that Wolverine mark? Insomniac has switched over. Their team has moved over to work on Wolverine, but and I actually did I asked Jeff Grubb. I sent Jeff Grubb a generous super chat on his podcast yesterday to get him to answer my question about what's going on with the current state of the superhero games. And fortunately, so far, Jeff Grubb has got a lot of nothing. He's saying everyone's just kind of taking their time. It's still early stages on a lot of this stuff, and they don't have any updates yet. The only thing he mentioned was that he reiterated that the Black Panther game is going to be, the story of that is basically your father has died and you're taking over as the new Black Panther for the EA Black Panther game. But other than that, no info on Wolverine. The last update we had on Wolverine from Grubb was that they're targeting 2024 for release date, but he said internally it looks like they're not going to get it out until 2025.
Yeah, I didn't think there's any way they get it out next year, to be honest with you. But what do I know?
And I think that's probably a safe bet to go 2025 on that. As for Suicide Squad, we did get some update about that a little bit ago. Someone reportedly went to a trade show and got to see a new trailer for Suicide Squad, and people first thought it was oh well, anyone can say that, but it was on the Reddit game leaks, and they reportedly presented evidence to the mods to verify that this was in fact true. They obviously posting the actual trailer would not be allowed, but they said they did verify what the poster said was true. So there is in fact a new trailer for Suicide Squad that has been made and will be releasing, we can assume, probably at the Game Awards, since they so far have not moved from that new release date of February 1st. So in terms of that, from what we heard about it, pretty much, I don't know how much has changed. They said one interesting thing is they mentioned how the trailer, they said they're supposedly emphasizing how each individual character plays, and which I think was one of the big complaints from the state of play, that all the characters look too samey, which definitely a fair complaint. So hopefully they do a better job this time around. Obviously, it's still going to be a live service game. They reportedly have like prepared a year's worth of content, which will still apparently be free and will include new missions and new characters. But that's pretty much it. So the question will be, when it comes to Suicide Squad, will people give it a second chance? Will you guys give? Well,
Yeah.
I know Jay never left, but
Yeah.
I don't know about casual. Where are you? You're as a survivor of the Marvel's Avengers era. Are you ready to jump back into another potentially disastrous live service superhero game?
I'm willing to see what they how they reintroduce themselves after this delay that they announced. So I talked about it a bit over on Doom's channel when they were going over the Reddit leaks over there, and it's like it still sounds like it's going to be live service. It still sounds like they're going to be going the battle pass and gear system route. I don't know how that's going to go over, because I feel like those things specifically have been killing multiplayer hero games and killing a lot of people's enthusiasm for those games, because people just, that stuff isn't fun, having to play the same missions over and over in the hopes of getting a good gear piece just to feel like you're powerful. That's not a good game design for hero games specifically. And but the idea that they're doing a little more of the balance between range and melee. So King Shark is going to be the most dominant melee character, with, I believe, Harley behind him, and then Deadshot is clearly going to be king of range. It's like I'm interested to see what you do. I'm not jumping both feet in on that at this point, because it still sounds kind of crazy. But like I said, we'll learn more as they release more information.
Yeah, I need some assurances before. I'm definitely committed to trying it. I am a superhero gaming channel. I'm now that Spider-Man 2 is in the rear view, I'm looking for the next thing. So it was definitely in my best interest if Suicide Squad is actually good, and it's coming out relatively soon. So I'm hoping it lives up to that potential. But I don't know, bro. I gotta see. I definitely want to see if they do a couple of things. Obviously, you got to have joint in progress. Like that's got to be a thing that they get right out the way. Do you have do you have like these essential features? Is it going to be online only? That'll annoy some people if not. But most importantly, will you have joint in progress? Because that's extremely important in terms of you having a functioning multiplayer game. In terms of the individual characters, we'll see. I definitely hope that there's true when they talk about characters feeling distinct, because, and I did hear some rumblings from developers saying that the state of play didn't really do a good job of showcasing the game for what it was, because they did mention stuff like in that presentation, like, oh, King Shark is the fastest melee character, and I'm like, well, we don't really see any evidence of that, because he shoots like he has the same shooting animations as everyone else, and the only melee attacks we saw was like an uppercut and an aerial ground slam. That's kind of the extent of it. Like everything else were just takedowns, like, which look cool, but they're takedowns. Like
my biggest concern is after the stuff we experienced dealing with Avengers specifically, is it, for some reason, when it comes to these live service games, studios don't really have their finger on the pulse of what the players they're trying to serve and target actually want from their game, specifically what they're looking for specifically from these heroes and what kind of experience they're looking for. And when players convey that kind of falls on deaf ears. So it's like, if that's the approach we're going to see, then it's like, yeah, this game is definitely going to have a struggle But if they're willing to take in, critical feedback and implement changes where possible to, give their game a chance, it's like I feel like even if it doesn't have the best, presentation at launch, they can kind of circumvent that just by taking in what players are saying they don't want and what they do want, and seeing what you can do about that. Because Insomniac, they didn't make a perfect game with Spider-Man 2, but it's like you can see where they took a lot of feedback about what players did and didn't like about the initial games. And they're like, okay, well, what can we do a little different while still doing what we essentially want to do? And I feel like that's the mindset you have to have in general, and just improve as you go. And with live service, as long as it's alive, you have constant chances to improve. But if you're going to put your head in the sand and say what's best, then you're going to go the route of Avengers, where you don't no longer exist.
And like Avengers, I think that's going to come down to who's working on the game. Like, we know the founders of the studio left the project, and we know, like with Redfall, you had a situation where they kept having all this turnover because all the developers that they usually had didn't want to work on a live service game. So, and that's where you see a lot of these issues. I think that's a big part of the reason why The Last of Us Factions never went anywhere, because no one asked for that game, and the developers are used to making a specific type of game, not that. And so you have a bunch. So it could be like pulling teeth. It's like, oh well, the executives once say you got to cash in on this live service stuff, and well, we don't really do that here. So if you're losing, if they lost a bunch of people, because I know they did go on a big hiring spree when they ended up delaying it a year. So maybe if they were smart, they hired a bunch of people who have experience working on live service games, who have no issue doing them, because otherwise, you're going to have a similar situation where Avengers, where it's like you have people who are unqualified to be in the gaming industry at all, much less on a live service game. And because halfway through they changed from a single player game to a multiplayer live service game, so you have people on there that have no experience, no interest in live service games, and they're getting feedback that they don't want to hear, because they don't want to be there anyway. They also know they don't have the resources to really do a lot. So you hope that it doesn't get to that state. But ideally, at the very least, they seem to be very committed to this live service angle. So you hope that they be willing to do the stuff right, because that's the thing. We don't know just how much of the live service stuff they got right. They have the battle pass, and they're going with the free model, which doesn't really tell us that they're the best at it, but it's not the worst thing ever. So we don't know the extent of how well they're doing it, because like Rocksteady themselves don't really have a live service history, but they do have a decent track, at least a track record of post-launch content. They had a bunch of post-launch content for Arkham Knight, so maybe.
Yeah, when I saw that Batman skin was coming, I went and I re-downloaded everything, and it amazed me. Reminding me how much DLC they actually had. Like, there was a lot.
Yeah, multiple playable characters.
Yeah.
I think honestly, if I think we're looking at this stuff wrong in terms of how to approach a live service game. So I think they're looking too much into what Destiny is doing, more so than what games like Arkham Knight or the Arkham series or Spider-Man, or even something like Xenoverse, which has been going for years at this point, or GTA Online, where it's like they're just delivering more of the content people want. They're giving them more stuff to buy and pursue, but your gameplay isn't being sacrificed around gear that may primarily be bad. Like Avengers, they never got the gear right. Even at the end, they never got that right. And when people are seeing gear being announced, they're not excited. When they see Battle Pass, they're like, okay, there's going to be nickel and diming us, and the content drop is going to be pretty slow. So it's like you need to address those kind of issues before going all in on we're going to do live service. And like, how can we serve the superhero game and community while at the same time introducing multiplayer content that they're actually passionate about.
Yeah, even Mortal Kombat's dealing with that right now because they released a new fatality, like a seasonal Halloween fatality today, and it's like $12, and it like I don't know, man, like it's not new for Mortal Kombat. They've released skins and announcer voices for money in like the last 4 games, Mortal Kombat X and 11 and Injustice 1 and 2. Like there's always been stuff you could buy. So I don't know where like the surprise is, but like I feel like there's this mentality if you spend $60 or $70 on a game that you are just entitled to anything that ever happens with that game without the understanding that if it wasn't for sale, like there would be no continued development on the game. Like these things get designed and made for the purpose of additional content, and that doesn't pay for itself. So I just feel like there's this idea that like if you sell the game, it can never charge for anything else, and it's weird because like everybody cites, oh well, if it was like Fortnite and the game was free, then it wouldn't be that big of a deal. But like in Fortnite, you spend $15-$20 every time a new Marvel skin comes out.
You're spending 15-20 times what you would have paid for
Exactly.
the $70 game and whatever content they put out. You've been paying for Fortnite stuff for years.
And to answer this question right here, I think it was just an accident. I don't think it was supposed to come out right now.
Yeah, I think the intent was to release it December 1st, but it got accidentally oopsied out there early. And to address this one, I did answer that, but I didn't reveal what my question was. But yeah, so the question I asked Jeff Grubb a very thorough question. I asked him basically what's the latest about all the announced superhero games, Wolverine, Wonder Woman, Skydance, and the unannounced, and I referenced the third EA Marvel game, the unannounced DC game from WB Games Montreal, and a rumored third a PS5 exclusive Marvel game. But the answer is that he gave was the answer that I gave earlier, which to reiterate is basically nothing is happening right now. It's still early. He did mention again, once again, that Black Panther is going to be you taking over the mantle for his father after his father died. But there seems to be also some hesitation when it comes to the superhero stuff because studios are still worried about being the next Marvel's Avengers. that is still very much a concern that is impacting a lot of decision making and people not just holding back on stuff, but making sure their ducks are in a row, their strategy is lined up, and that's why pretty much all the upcoming superhero games except for Suicide Squad are single player and not attempting to go for that sweet live service money because as Miller outlined on another podcast, for the price of a lot of live service games, you could probably make like 7 really good AAA games that aren't live service games because it's understandable why studios want to reach for the live service money. Like if you hit, you're raking in, built. I mean, your best case scenario is GTA Online, which billions of dollars of revenue every year, 10-year running, but more often than not, you're gonna fall on your face and you're not gonna have much to show for it.
It's an issue of innovation versus copycat. So it's like, Avengers just tried to copy what Destiny was doing without fully understanding why Destiny was working. And it doesn't seem like they really looked at what Destiny 2 was doing. They looked like they just looked at what Destiny 1 tried to do and was like, oh, we'll do stuff like that with Avengers. And it's like, bro, you have to do your due diligence, understand what it is you want to do with your game specifically, because like even in the early promo for that game, they couldn't communicate effectively what the hell that game was going to be.
They literally. I think they literally were asked, "What is it? Is this like a single player adventure, or is this like kind of a live service looter?" And they were like, "Yeah, you know, yeah, it's a lot of things, you know." I was like, "Oh, that should have been a huge red flag, right?" At the fact, like, if you can't answer the simple question of what is the game that you're presenting to us today, you're in a lot of trouble. Because
it's like, you know, we keep seeing this happen. So it's like they're not making bad games per se. Avengers has an amazing story with amazing character development, with amazing gameplay. And the multiplayer is what, you know, where the game essentially died. Gotham Knights, you know, interesting gameplay system. The gear was a letdown, you know, admittedly, but you know, you made some controversial decisions, but you told a unique story, gave a multiplayer experience that allowed players to team up from the very jump. You can have join in progress, people can join in and hop out at will. And you know, you have some frame rate issues and all of that, but it's like it's not a terrible game. The game is better than its reputation would suggest, but at the same time, it's like you're failing for a reason, and it's like there are a lot of key denominators there that we're just overlooking and like, oh well, you know, superhero games are bad or multiplayer superhero games are bad. Just do single player. It's like, no, just do the multiplayer right. People don't like to chase gear. People don't want to have a specific build in order to be good. Batman is just good, so he has a skill tree. He has moves you can unlock. But Batman can beat people down from the jump. So if you're just pressing X and A, he's beating the hell out of whoever's in front of him. That's it. That's the game. Follow that motto because you're trying to make a superhero game. Superheroes are supposed to feel strong. I shouldn't have to fight a generic thug for 15 minutes because my hero build is trash. Nobody wants to do that. But buy skins. And it's like, come on.
Now, as a skilled player, I do enjoy the process of getting good and putting together builds. But there is of course a balancing act, which if you experienced well-made looter shooters, you type of games, you would see that is done well. Like even like they recently had even going further back, like going back to the year Avengers came out, Ghost of Tsushima had a looter multiplayer mode added onto it, and that ended up being really well done. And the key with that is you ultimately need to have a good build and know what you're doing in order to play the higher level content, but you also had a skill tree, and you had the ability to actually be good. It wasn't like it wasn't a situation where you would be terrible unless you leveled up to max and had the best broken perks. Like, no, it's like, as long if you went through your skill tree, you played on an appropriate difficulty level, and you were familiar with the main game, you'd be able to get through it. So there is that balancing act. You want to make sure that when you throw people in there, that they're actually good. And I think Avengers eventually got there. I think I remember Avengers was definitely a lot more challenging at launch than it eventually ended up being, which I appreciated, but other people didn't. But a recent game, First Ascendant, I thought they did a pretty good job with that in terms of the superpower looter shooter fantasy. They had the gear, they had all the stuff, but I thought they really did a good job of allowing you to just jump in and have fun with it, and even if you weren't like an expert at gear and theory crafting. And I think that's going to be the key to it. How fun will Suicide Squad be just to pick up? How will they handle that progression? Because it does make sense, because to go the shooter angle, if you wanted to focus on shooter, the more human members of the Suicide Squad. That's why I was confused why they chose King Shark. you know, if they like, if you just wanted to make a third-person shooter, then there are definitely other members that you could have gone with. Like the fact that, you know, even Captain Boomerang is using a gun when they could have easily just given him trick boomerangs instead was weird. Was a weird choice, and kind of makes me think that maybe this might be a situation where they have developers working on the game that don't want to do this type of game, and they're just kind of trying to get it out the door.
Jay, what were you going to say? I know you were trying to jump in a few minutes back, if you remember.
Was that? I don't think I was.
Okay. Not mistaken there.
I don't care.
I'm sure it wasn't that big a deal, but I think I'm gonna give Suicide Squad a chance, of course, because I do want it to be good. I do intend to play it, and I'll be tuning in December when I expect the trailer to drop to see what changes and what improvements are making it if it gets delayed again, because I hope it doesn't get delayed again. But yeah, I really want to see how they distinguish those characters, and I also want to see DC just kind of lean more into their IPs. Like we have so many interesting DC characters, and we only seem to get Bat Family stuff, Batman adjacent stuff.
Because of it's like Gotham Knights underperform. If Suicide Squad underperforms, press the Batman button. We need a new Batman game.
I don't know if Gotham Knights necessarily. I mean, it probably didn't do as well as it should have.
It wasn't a hit, but I did see confirmation that it did in fact meet their sales goals. It wasn't a smash hit, but it was one of the best selling games of the year, and it did manage to at least meet their sales goals. So that does seem to be a common misunderstanding about the game, because it didn't get great reviews, but at the very least it didn't lose the money. They made the money that they set out to make, but it didn't exceed their expectations.
To answer Billy's question off the top of my head, I would say probably the Titanfall Collector's Edition. It was like a literal Titan, like the whole freaking thing. So that one it's actually sitting on top of my refrigerator. It's so big. So, yeah. I mean, this one's cool. I mean, don't get me wrong, but I have a sour taste in my mouth over it, because Sony.
Yeah, tell them about it, Jay.
Sony absolutely dropped the ball. It's actually on the level of complete incompetence that we did not get this like a day before release. Like sheer incompetence, completely, utterly. There's no reason, all right, that a game that comes with a steelbook and a digital code did not ship so that people got it the night before. You know what I mean? Like, there's no reason why I should have had to wait until 7:00 at night to get my game code, which fortunately I drove down to New York City and found a shop that was selling it breaking street date. So like I drove down to New York City and got it on the Wednesday before. So I had it, but like I shouldn't have had to. Like I should have been able to know that the game was going to arrive on time. If there was a disc in there, then fine. I understand that's the way it is, you know, but there wasn't. There was a code that they had complete and total control over. There's no reason for this. If you are not going to have an actual physical disc in the game when you sell a collector's edition, and it's going to have the person's version of the game in it, in a code, you have to make sure they have it before the game actually releases. Like there's no reason they couldn't ship it out a week early. Like none.
Jay, did you ever think
that I'm a hater? Yeah.
That you're an Xbox loving nerd?
Yes, that's obviously what it is. And I would have said the same thing if this was Starfield, okay? Like the Starfield Collector's Edition, like there's no reason to make people wait all day on release day and run the risk of like something happening. I know people that didn't even get it until the Monday after, you know? Like, that's ridiculous. Like, there are people that plan their lives around this game. You could say, you know, that's their choice all you want, but like, they should be able to know that like they can play their game when it goes live.
Yeah, it matters. They're paying customers. You know, it does. I do see a point. I think it is kind of ridiculous that people who spent well over $200 for this collector's edition to support the game wouldn't be allowed to play the game unless they bought it twice.
Right. And it's just insane. And like, some people are like, oh, well, it's only a couple hours. Well, like, but that's their choice.
It wasn't just a couple hours. I think it didn't even arrive for you until what, the 21st?
No, I got it like 7 p.m.
Yeah, it's 7 p.m. I know some people got it on the 24th.
Right.
Some people got it later than that.
And here's the crazy thing though, is that like when the PlayStation bundle went out, right? My brother did not have a PlayStation 5, so you know, we got him a PlayStation 5, and it came with the code for the game that you couldn't even actually enter until the 20th. So you're telling me they couldn't have done the same thing with the collector's edition? They could have shipped that out in September if they had it. You know what I mean? Like, all right, you got your code. When it's the 20th, you're good to go. Done.
So I would say this: they're shipping out 19 inches all over the country, Jay. That's a lot of red tape to go through. So,
I mean, they were probably still building all the inches onto this thing because it is massive, Jay.
They got questions like, who is the 19 inches for? What are they using the 19 inches for? Things like that. You know, you got to factor that in.
I'm sorry. It is just awful. It's really and truly one of the dumber things that I've seen in gaming. And like, the bigger problem is the fact that they sold it direct. If I could have walked into GameStop like I usually do, like I did for the first Spider-Man game collector's edition, no problem, because you can walk in that night and get it. But they decided to hoard them all for themselves so they can make a little bit of extra money, because apparently they need it. And that's what it is. And I'm fine with that, but you just have to be able to get it out there.
So Jay, what I'm hearing is that you hate capitalism and money, right?
I have no problem with capitalism. Like I just said, I have no problem with them wanting to keep it in-house. No problem with that. You just have to make sure you get it to people in a timely manner. That's all. And they didn't. They just there's just no reason for it. And it's stupid. And it just kills me that there's somebody that works for PlayStation who chose to not ship these until the night before the game came out. Like, they made a conscious decision to pay next day shipping rates in this day and age. Okay. Like, I feel like that almost negates anything that they gain by selling it direct. You know what I mean?
So the thing you're missing here, Jay, is that no one cares about gamers. gamers.
Do you know how much 19 inches costs to ship next day air?
Dozens of dollars.
Lots more than it costs to ship regular.
Yeah, but Jay, you're a nerd. So
yeah.
So buy it again or cry about it. But it is weird. It is weird what gamers put up have just been trained to just kind of accept. Like we say things casually, like this game that I got, it crashed a couple times, but other than that, it's fine. Like, imagine if you went to a dealership and you bought a brand new Mercedes, and on the way home, the engine died a couple of times, and you called the dealership, and they said, "Oh yeah, we'll send a patch to fix that later." like no, you're like, no, I want my money back. What do you mean? What do you mean? I paid full price for this car, this brand new car. What do you mean it? What do you mean you're gonna patch it? Why is it shutting down? It's a brand new car. Like, but when it comes to games, just like, the brand new thing I just paid full price for, it doesn't work. It has missing features, but they're gonna add it later. It's like, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's a little bit of the difference between something that you could do digitally. I get what you're saying. I absolutely get where you're going with that, but I don't know that it's apples to apples. But still, the point remains. I don't know. It just I'm so sour on it. I didn't even do an unboxing video. I literally opened it, took the code out of the case, and realized. And remember, we have this conversation many times. Will it be just one code, or will it have a code for the game and a code for the DLC? And guess what it was?
Just a one code.
One code. And you know what I could have done all day? Just paid the $10 for the upgraded edition.
Yep.
And then just sold my code somewhere else. So I didn't even actually use the code that came with it. And I waited all day because and probably my fault, but
definitely your fault.
It is definitely my fault. I thought the collector's edition had 2 extra skins that only came in the collector's edition. So it turns out that those 2 extra skins
You're talking about the Iraq Knight and the Shadow Spider?
Exactly.
Yeah, those are the pre-order bonuses for this.
Exactly. And I just bought the collector's edition and never looked back. You know what I mean?
Definitely.
Because I was getting it anyway. You know what I mean?
Definitely a skill issue. Yeah. In that case, yeah.
I admitted as much.
Yeah. So in that regard, yeah, you're. But I definitely understand the frustration with dealing with that. Like I ended up using mine because the version that the review copy that I got sent was for the standard. So I was like, okay, well, I got when my collector's arrives, I could just upgrade to the deluxe.
So is that how it worked out though? Like, were you able to redeem both codes?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's what I didn't want to do that. I was worried because I was worried it would say, oh, you already have this game. You know what I mean?
Nope. When I downloaded my review code, I realized it was a standard. So when I got the deluxe, I was like, all right, let me just throw it in and see what it is. And when I loaded up the game, it had my new suits. I had the extra skill points, and it was nothing. Yeah.
That's kind of crazy though that it would let you redeem how much was the deluxe edition? 80, 90?
It was 80. Yeah, it's actually
80. It's kind of crazy that it would let you redeem a code for $80 game that you already own.
I guess because it recognized the version, because it was like, okay, well, you have a standard installed, and now you can. Here's the code to allow you to upgrade your standard to deluxe.
That's kind of wild. I don't know. I don't know that. I don't know how that would work. Like, well, I just feel like that there should have been 2 codes, to be honest with you. But
I think you're a grown ass man arguing about other grown ass men.
Yeah.
Nerd.
Yeah.
Speaking of people complaining about Marvel, I just saw this story today, which I thought was interesting, and it's a follow up to something me and Jay talked about, and a bunch of people talked about before, with the whole situation with Daredevil Born Again, getting an entire overhaul, and by overhaul I mean pretty much everyone was fired, and Marvel decided, hey, we're going to actually start making our shows for Disney Plus like everyone else does. So, and that first step was hiring an actual showrunner, and they did. The first time ever they have a showrunner, which is insane.
Yeah.
Given the amount of money they've pumped into Disney Plus shows so far, first time ever they have hired a showrunner, and I looked into his the showrunner's name. Who's this guy? He's not super experienced.
I worked on Jack Ryan though.
Yeah, his name is Dario Scartapane. He technically looks cool. He worked on Tom Clancy's Jack Ryan and The Punisher
as a producer.
The only actual show he's a showrunner was Trauma, which was a NBC show about first responders. Yeah, there was trauma involved. I didn't watch it. I don't think I've ever heard of it. It only lasted for 1 season, but from the reviews, the user ratings, which I usually go by, it was people decently liked it. It just wasn't enough to get renewed for another season. So he doesn't have a ton of showrunner experience. So that's not usually a great sign to give say someone who's only done one show, say, hey, here's a $100 million budget work on this Daredevil thing. But he at least was a producer on 2 good shows. But the problem is that producer is probably the vaguest term in all of entertainment because it could mean so many different things. Like the barrier for entry to get a production credit on a show is extremely low. like producer could mean you know a guy that worked on it, or it could mean you threw some money into it, or some producers are like super. Some producers literally just wrangle the money. Some actually work. There are some that actually work hands on, giving notes. Overseeing this. But yeah, for the most part, yeah, production. That doesn't necessarily mean this person was directly involved, but that is the person that they chose. What do you think, guys? Are you optimistic about the future of the Disney Plus Marvel programs now that they're at least understanding that they have to do things like hire showrunners?
Not really. Like I said earlier, it sounds like they went with somebody with not much experience in an attempt to kind of not have to pay that much for
I mean, did you see that he was a producer on The Punisher, sir?
It was a good show.
He's a showrunner, but like, I guess that could be vague too, who knows?
Yeah, well, only in the context of Marvel, because we know how, shall we say, hands-on their producers, especially Kevin Feige, can be. Marvel is kind of famous for their studio notes, where they're very hands-on and kind of have a problem of a lot of times undermining the creatives and being like, okay, well, we have a formula, so we want to make sure that you stick by our formula as much as possible. So who knows how much they're willing to peel back on that. We don't know, but in theory, a showrunner is supposed to call the shots when it comes to the creative decisions on the show. But I'm sure Kevin Feige will at least have something to say. Or it's Marvel.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like at this point, Kevin Feige, I feel like he's kind of, I don't know. I don't know. Let me see. How do I want to say it? Like, I want to say it's like, it feels like he kind of got exposed post Endgame, because it's like,
yeah,
it feels like he has more creative control than ever, and Marvel is in his worst period ever. And it's like,
also very fair.
I feel like somebody is unnamed or uncredited for a lot of the success that we saw in the first 10 years of the MCU. And post Endgame, we've been seeing a lot of craziness, and it's like, do whatever with the MCU. And it's like, bro, what at this point, like, a lot of people aren't even tuning in to Loki like that. Like, myself included. I think I watched some of episode 2, maybe. I can't remember, but honestly, I haven't been following that show.
Did you watch the latest episode, Jay?
I only watched the first 2 so far.
Oh, geez.
And I only watched the second episode like yesterday.
So I'm the only one on the panel that actually watched episode 4.
I watched the third. I watched. I saw Miss Minutes try to seduce. Anyway.
Jonathan Majors. Well, this particular Kang variant is named Timely, but
Victor Timely. Basically I saw Victor Timely's introduction.
Basically, we learned that Miss Minutes wants to fuck Kang.
Yeah.
the AI that he created that looks like Miss Pac-Man.
Wow. Yeah, I'm not missing much content.
You're honestly not.
So I guess you watched the third episode.
What happened at the end of the first episode? Was that when
So
what's Owen Wilson's character's name?
Mobius.
Mobius. He had to go out into the void or whatever.
So basically, the first episode is Loki keeps bouncing back and forth through time, and they have to figure out how to stop that thing from being a thing, while also dealing with kind of like a internal TVA civil war because after the events of last season, they're like, hey, maybe we shouldn't murder trillions of people to protect this timeline thing. And they're like, oh yeah, but then what will we do? You know, so big moral dilemma there. And then there's also, apparently because of all the timelines, the MacGuffin that is running the TVA apparently was not equipped to handle the multiverse thing being a thing. So all the extra branches are triggering some kind of meltdown that will eventually blow up the TVA. So their whole thing is they have to basically the first episode is they have to buy time by closing the blast doors of the TVA because of time radiation bullshit. And so Ouroboros has to go out and plug in a thing and then come in so that they can close the doors and delay the TVA blowing up. And then Loki is dealing, and Loki has to help out, but you know, he time jumps, and that is going to ruin the plan. But then someone prunes him from behind, and that somehow allows him to teleport where Mobius is and knock him out back inside the TVA so he doesn't die, instead of sending him to the edge of time, which is what normally happens when you get pruned. But they just explain it as, oh, Loki just pops out for reasons and saves Mobius, and that's it.
Yeah. So I checked. I only watched episode 1, so I haven't seen anything else.
Well, episode 4 brings that full circle. We find out that when the person who stabbed Loki from behind with the prune stick was in fact Loki, because Loki is trying to after Miss Minutes confesses that she wants to fuck Victor, he gets rid of the Renslayer pretty early. He rizzes her up, and then when she mentions how she's looking forward to being a partner, he's like, oh yeah, I don't do partners. Like, that's kind of his thing. He doesn't want to partner any of this. So he just basically leaves her stranded in the middle of the ocean and goes with Miss Minutes. And then that he betrays Miss Minutes too, because you know she confesses that her plan is to have him give her a human body so that she can fuck him properly. And he's like, yeah, I don't know about any of this stuff. I just want to do science. I'm not trying to have sex with any AIs. I don't know what this is. So he ends up going back to the TVA with Loki and Mobius, and he has this whole bromance with Ouroboros, because you know Ouroboros wrote the TVA guidebook, which was very influential to Timely. He loves it. That's because, you know, Renslayer dropped that off to him. But because Hugh Raines wrote the basically made the TVA, he's also very influential on Ouroboros. So they have their whole thing where they exchange autographs. But essentially, they instead of letting Sylvie murder Renslayer and Miss Menace, they just basically kick them to the edge of time where Dead Kang from last season was, and just leave them there. But they managed to, like, I'm thinking of the Ryan George sketch, Super Easy Barely Convenience, like literally in the very next episode they immediately escape and come back to the TVA. They murder all the prisoners who tried to revolt against the plan to stop blowing up timelines, except for the one guy who wants to be an actor on the timeline. And they go to try to stage their coup. Miss Minutes takes over all the systems, which screws up their plan. But then Ouroboros says, "Oh well, if we just shut everything, if we just reboot the whole system, we can lock Miss Minutes out and turn off the magic dampener. So now Loki and Sylvie can use magic, and they immediately kill Renslayer like instant. They hypnotize the one guy into killing Renslayer instantly, and then Loki somehow ends up when they're trying to use they're trying to use the elevator, but the elevator wasn't working because Mr. Miz was blocking it. So he takes the stairs, and when he takes the stairs, he pops up on the floor and sees himself standing in the middle of the floor, which is the scene from the first episode. And Sylvie is trying to pry up an elevator because the elevator wasn't working. She had to hotwire it, and that's why we find out that scene came from. It's literally just Loki took the stairs while Sylvie took the elevator because Miss Minutes was blocking the elevator, and he just sticks himself in the back and to keep the loop going. But there's really no other payoff there. So they continue with their plan, which is basically to take Victor. Their plan. This is all leading up to them doing the exact same thing as episode 1, except instead of Mobius in the suit, they're going to put Victor Timely in the suit. It's literally pretty much the exact same plan. He has to go outside, put a thing in the thing, and come back inside and save the TVA. Except as soon as Victor steps outside, he immediately dies. They're just like, "Oh well, we're fucked," and that's literally how the episode ends.
And I miss She-Hulk. I miss the simplistic writing of She-Hulk.
I feel you. Like Loki season 2 is Loki season 2 makes me like. I think overall, the TVA was a terrible idea. It was not just that it was just horribly executed, but it just creates so many problems that they have no interest in airing out and addressing, because like there's so much wrong with everything they conceptually made with the TV. Like just the entire idea of it, just even down to the basic mechanics, like the whole machine being like, oh well, it holds, well, we have pure pieces of time going through. So like the time, the implication is that time TVA came before time, which we know is not the case, and they don't even bother to explain this concept. But even down to how people, how the TVA were enforcing anything, like they finally outlined it that they have dampeners in the TVA security system set up to prevent people from using magic. So okay, but they for some reason don't have the technology to use that outside the TVA. They can't just take, or they don't have any similar devices they can use outside the TVA, because out of all the countless variants of different characters that they had to encounter, the only ones that were giving them troubles are Lokis, which are magic users. And even though they have anti-magic tech in the TVA, for some reason they don't have any anti-magic tech that can take out into the fucking field, and they didn't bother to develop any. So it's like, which begs the question: if the biggest threat to the TVA was one Loki variant, Sylvie, who has magic, why wouldn't you instead focus on capturing her with anti-magic tech? Why would they just continue throwing bodies at her instead of just using common sense?
I can't even visualize what you've been talking about for like the past 15 minutes.
I tuned out.
It's like I'm listening to somebody speak Japanese. I understand every word you're saying, but it all means nothing to me.
It's so wild. Like there's so many problems with the Loki script, but I think the worst part of season 2 is that it is just kind of boring. Like She-Hulk, for all its many faults, it was at least entertaining, because you had episodes that were just over the top awful, but you had something to talk about. Like there was something to say about it. It was just like, oh, this is ridiculous, or this might be kind of funny. But with Loki, it's just like 40 minutes of techno babble that logically makes absolutely no sense, and you know, constantly switching character motivations that aren't fully fleshed out. It just like the only thing I can say good about is that the set designs are good and the acting is good, but it's awful. It's just
what's the guy's name? The villain from Guardians of the Galaxy 3. I always forget, you know, who that character is.
you mean the
High Evolutionary.
Yeah.
I find that guy vastly more interesting than what they've been doing with Kang and everything he's been in. So I wasn't.
He's a
interested
really
in
good
Loki.
actor. I think he did a really good job acting, and I also think Jonathan Majors is great. I thought Jonathan Majors was great in episode 3.
He's done. I think Majors has done great in everything he's done for his Kang. Like he's been asked to play wildly different versions of Kang with different motivations, and he's delivered all of them perfectly. It's just the fact that I'd say Chuck Wooji had, we'll say, better material to work with.
That's true. I'm just saying, like, as the character has been presented in the MCU, I've seen multiple, you know, iterations of Kang so far. The closest that we even came to one of them being really interesting for me personally was in Ant-Man, but you had him lose to Ant-Man after bragging about beating all the Avengers and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's the big problem. Yeah, that is the big problem. Like they set him up as the Thanos of this new part. But if you remember how Thanos was introduced, it was not like this. It was not him getting stabbed by a Loki variant or getting beat up by Ant-Man. and even in this one, they undermine Kang again. Like not only did he lose to Sylvie, not only did he get his ass beat by Ant-Man, but apparently He Who Remains, the one who started the TVA, the one who you know won the multiversal war to start the TVA and create the sacred timeline. They revealed in episode 4 that actually Renslayer was doing all the work and he was just kind of sitting on his ass on the throne.
Yeah, it's like this show just it's similar to the issue I had with Secret Invasion, where it's like by episode 2 I understood we're not going anywhere. So it's like whatever the budget for this show was, none of it actually went to creating a interesting or engaging finale to this. And the same thing was with Loki. It's like it's a well-produced show, but the budget doesn't serve a climatic narrative after all this mystery, after all this, you know, intrigue about where the story is going, what's going on. And it's like, I get it. It's a Loki story. It doesn't have to be this big bombastic thing, but we literally just ended with 2-3 people in a room talking for a finale. And it's like, bro, what are we doing? And then it's like, you know, this just seems to be a recurring theme. And it's like with WandaVision, you went the route of over the top special effects, and that wasn't good either. I don't know what their problem is with the Disney Plus shows when it comes to, you know, just landing the series. None of these shows actually land, in my opinion, if they can even keep your attention that long. And the Kang angle, it is not pulling me in. And Loki has nothing going for it that pulls me in. The first season, you at least had a mystery about what the hell was going on. That was interesting. WandaVision had a mystery angle that was interesting. Yeah. It doesn't, you know, lead to a satisfactory conclusion, but you at least had me in the first couple episodes. This, it just sounds like nonsense, and I'm like, well, I can't bother to be engaged with that.
They do have key lime pie.
That does nothing for me. But for real, it's like when I think of Kang in the MCU, is it's comparable to how I feel about how Darkseid was handled in the Justice League movie. Like, our first introduction to this character is watching him get one shot by who was that, Ares?
Yeah.
One of the guys, like, you literally got one shot and ran away.
Yeah, he had to literally be carried back to a ship, kicking a screen.
Yeah. And it's like at the end of the movie, it's like, okay, we just beat your mans down, stopped your plan, and you're gonna act like you didn't see any of that. Just they closed the boom tube, let's get up out of here and keep it moving. It's like so threatening.
I keep telling people, Snyderverse is overrated, bro. like he had some good ideas. He had a few interesting ideas. He's great at making trailers. The effects were well until the Justice League fiasco. The effects were really good. But
I mean, that wasn't his fault in
Yeah.
the first iteration. He had nothing to do with that.
But I mean, even then, it's like, that was not going anywhere interesting. They were good, like they did not handle that well. And yeah, when it comes to if you're going to have a big bet, it's really important to. That's why it's really important to have really good writers, because you have to give people a reason to care. Like this whole season, Loki has been talking about He Who Remains like he's Thanos. Like, oh, we have to stop. We can't let He Who Remains. But we as the audience watched the supposedly version of Kang that was so powerful that everyone had to work together to banish him to the quantum realm, get his ass beat by Ant-Man. so it's like, what are you doing? And even this version that's in the show, he's like the precursor to the Kang that was at the end of last season, and this version is just a simple con artist. And the one from last season didn't do anything that we saw. Not only did he just like let himself get stabbed, but according to Renslayer, she was leading the army, and he was just kind of doing nothing. and then he had Miss Minutes erase her and everyone's memories, and then he just chilled in his throne until the Loki showed up.
Yeah, it's like none of this sounds like we're describing galactic dictator, a time lord, or anything like that, bro. It's like this sounds like very low budget concepts to avoid from having to spend any real money on anything. Yeah. So we have a guy just talking in a chair doing stuff.
Like, imagine if they had Thanos come through, get his ass beat by Black Widow, and then we find out later that actually Proxima Midnight is the one running his empire. And Thanos is really doing the conquering. It's Gamora and Proxima doing all the work.
That's what I'm saying. It's like I believe people should be compensated for their writing, but it's like looking at the level of writing I've been seeing in a lot of projects, bro. It's like you need a break. Take a break. Go back to the drawing board. Think about what we're presenting, because this is trash. I just can't with these shows, man. Honestly, I know it's controversial, but I am not lying when I say She-Hulk was probably the last, at least interesting show they had, bro. Like Secret Invasion was such a letdown. A show that should have had so much mystery and intrigue to it had absolutely none of it. What came after She-Hulk before? What else?
It was
Werewolf by Night was a movie essentially, so it's like that doesn't count. That was good though.
Miss Marvel
came out before. That was pretty bad. Like that was rough.
For me, the only Disney Plus shows that I really enjoyed, well, I love Werewolf by Night, but not a show. But the only other one I really enjoyed was What If. You know, outside of a couple episodes that were duds, I thought overall it was good, and it managed to stick the landing, unlike pretty much all the other shows, and it has some really, really good episodes thrown in there.
I agree. I always forget about What If because it felt like so many years since we actually watched that. Yeah. But that's what I don't feel like their shows have been just terrible until we got to around like the Moon Knight, Secret Invasion, Loki season 2 gap.
Yeah, they before they were well, for free Hawkeye was terrible, but outside of that, like WandaVision was like really good for like 75% of it, and then the rest of it was trash. Falcon and Winter Soldier was up and down. Had some really cringe stuff, had some good stuff, but overall, I thought it ended pretty weak. Moon Knight I thought was like half good, half extraordinarily cringe. Hawkeye I just thought was absolute dog water, just completely.
I mean, like Hawkeye at least had action. She-Hulk had action. Moon Knight is an action hero, bro. We had like 20% of action that was mostly off screen.
Well,
It's
we
like,
found out a little bit about that though, because apparently like it took like a weird shift at a certain point, and I guess that's the point like that the original like writer or director got
they basically had a whole overhaul behind the scenes, like and had new people completely take over. So yeah, it definitely affected that the quality show. Explains why it was so up and down. Secret Invasion has similar problems behind the scenes. Obviously, it showed because absolute disaster. Like not just the fact that it obviously wasn't remotely close to a faithful adaptation, but even the core concept of the show, which is like an invasion of the body snatchers type of thing, they didn't even pay off that core concept. Like at no point in the entire show was anyone not sure if they were talking to a Skrull. Like there was at no point where they played that off. Like, oh, we don't know who like everyone knew who they were talking to at all times. They never once used this.
Like Nick Fury had no paranoia, none isolation, nothing. Oh, I'm in tight with the Skrulls. I don't even question the Skrulls that I'm in good with. Like it's absolute nonsense.
The only paranoid one in the entire show was the guy in the first scene, and he wasn't paranoid until he gave away all the information.
Exactly. It's like, you're this paranoid, bro. You got to do a thorough check before you start talking to this person. Before he even get in your apartment, we're going to have a checking process to see if you're who you say you are. Let me cut your finger and see if you bleed red, bro. Something.
Didn't do anything. Just like, oh, come on right in.
Let me tell you everything.
Here's everything I have so far. This is all the information you have. This is what. This is what. By the way, are you a Skrull? I think you're a Skrull. Ah! It's like well, it's too late now, bro.
It's like, honestly, looking back at it, She-Hulk had action every episode. You had big cameos,
attempts at comedy.
Yeah, it's like the worst thing about that show, honestly, was outside of just the general writing, was the lawyer stuff. It's like whoever wrote that has no idea what being a lawyer consists of or how court works. But yeah, it's like, looking back, it's like, man, that show was ahead of the curve for what's left.
I could definitely definitively say She-Hulk is a better show than Secret Invasion in pretty much every way.
It's like, speaking of what I was saying about the budget stuff, look at what came out about Daredevil before they start making all these changes. That show was essentially just a lot of talking. Like, he doesn't even become Daredevil until like the 4th or 5th episode or something like that. That's it.
Yeah. They said he doesn't even put on a costume until the 4th episode. So
it's like,
yeah, the idea is that it would just be like a legal procedural.
It's like, what do we? And I believe the logic behind that is this saves money. So we're paying the actors, we're paying production, but we don't have choreographers. We don't have to actually, set up, fight stages or anything like that. Talk scene to scene. Oh, what's going on here? And it's going to be super dry. And by the time he actually does fight, you don't even care. And it's like, who's running this project, bro? Like, what are we doing?
Because they're spending more money by firing everyone and starting over. If they had just hired good people at the beginning, they would have. But they would have had hired a bunch of people, made 8 episodes, and we're just like, you know what? Nah.
It's crazy. That's absolutely insane.
We're gonna throw away 8 episodes, probably over $100 million spent. We're gonna fire everyone. We're gonna hire all new people.
Jay, as the secret producer of Marvel, what's been going on behind the scenes? Give us the scoop, man. Give us an exclusive over here.
You know what's been happening? Like, just, stacks.
You just throwing it at whoever walked by. Here, you're a producer now.
Like, I even keep a special, like, Bermuda dollar just in case,
You still got that.
I'm always going to carry it with me. It's a conversation starter.
It's a good flex.
Well, are you guys planning to see the Marvels next month?
I will probably actually go see it. I actually was thinking about that the other day. I was like, man, that's crazy that movie comes out in like 2 weeks.
Bro, every time every time I have to keep reminding myself that that movie exists, because I'll be like, I'll completely forget about it, and then I'll see like a video talking about it pop up on my timeline. I'm like, oh yeah, when does that come out? And then I'm like, no, oh shit.
I don't even remember the last movie that I went to, so I'll probably just go see it just so I can go have some movie theater popcorn.
There's absolutely no way in the fuck I'm going to see this in the theater. But
I'll go.
Same, I feel like the same. My motivation is pretty much the same, Jay. Like I haven't
Get
been to
popcorn
the show since the. I think since I saw the TMNT movie, that was probably the last thing I went to see.
I didn't even see that.
Yeah, what's the last thing I saw in the theater? It
might have been Shazam. No,
was it?
I didn't pay for that.
It might. I think it was The Flash.
Yeah, maybe The Flash.
I went to see Flash in theaters.
I don't think there was anything after that.
Because I'm thinking of all the because I know it had to be a superhero movie. So I watched Shazam 2, and I watched Guardians 3 on a pirate ship. So yeah, it had to be, and same with Blue Beetle. So it had to be The Flash, because I do remember going to the theater and seeing The Flash. I know I saw that.
I know I didn't see Transformers because I had that spoiled on me.
I know I stopped watching Transformers after Shia LaBeouf left the franchise.
Oh, it looked like it was pretty good. I actually got it.
I stopped following. It just got so convoluted. Like I was just like, this is just nah.
Wow, bro. This is probably the least amount of movies I've seen in a year, like at the theater. Like the only things I've saw this year was Megan, Knock at the Cabin, Ant-Man, Air, Guardians 3. I saw Across the Spider-Verse twice. I saw The Flash, and I saw TMNT twice.
Oh yeah, I saw Across the Spider-Verse in theaters. So that might have been it. That might be, yeah. I saw a lot of those movies. I still haven't seen Oppenheimer or Barbie. Yeah. I still didn't watch the last John Wick movie. I've been like way less into movies like especially over the last year. At least definitely in terms of going physically to see them. Yeah, I just kind of been like content to just chill at home and just wait, because there's nothing that was really motivating me to kind of get out there. Like,
yeah, like I checked out Transformers at home. If I can catch it at home, I'll catch it. The Flash, it wasn't I didn't hate it. I understand why it didn't go over well with audiences as much. But it's like that was one of the movies I just had marked early in the year.
Yeah,
I saw Ant-Man kind of begrudgingly, and it's like it's a date night. That's kind of how I justify it. So that's what I'm doing with the Marvels. It's a date night if she's down. If she's adamant that she doesn't want to sit through that, I'm not forcing your hand. We don't have to do that,
bro. I think the Marvels is going to be. Oh, boy, I think that's going to be a bad one, bro.
I don't doubt it.
I'm just talking about in terms of like sales. I think this is going to be. I think this is based on what I'm hearing, the projections. I think this is going to be the worst performing MCU movie ever.
Who knows? Because it's like I was surprised to see that the first Captain Marvel made $1 billion. That's mind-boggling to me. But
it definitely it actually doesn't surprise me that much, because you gotta remember at the time, because like obviously the movie is by no means a masterpiece. It has a lot of flaws, a lot of cringe in there. But I remember I remember when I left the theater, I didn't hate it. Like it had some good stuff. It had, it definitely had a lot of problems, but I thought it was entertaining. It was entertaining enough to get by. And at the time, Marvel just had the ultimate momentum. Like they remember they sandwiched, they set up, they basically marketed Captain Marvel as the lead into Avengers Endgame, which was the biggest thing ever. So so you're coming right after. You had Ant-Man and the Wasp, but then you had Infinity War. They're just like, okay, well, before Endgame, you watch Captain Marvel, because Captain Marvel is going to be a big part of it. You got to watch Captain Marvel. It's going to have a post-credit scene. Everything's going to lead to Endgame. So people came out not just on the strength of it just being a Marvel movie, because again, like just being by nature of being a Marvel movie at that time, people would just go see it. Like Marvel movies didn't flop back then. People would just go like, oh, it's a Marvel movie, let's go. And this one, add this to the fact that it was a lead in the Endgame. Yeah, people just went to go see it, and that repeat isn't happening this time. The Marvels is definitely not going to be $1 billion movie. I can guarantee you that one.
Like I said, I can believe it. Like I said, at best it'll be a date night. So even like that's I felt when did Shazam, not Shazam, Black Adam, was that last year I saw that? I felt like I saw that this year too, but I don't know.
No, Black Adam was definitely last year or the year before.
Oh yeah, it was last year. I just remember what day I went to see that.
Yeah, I saw that in theaters as well because you know I was hoping it was going to be good. You know, I'm a big fan of The Rock, and unfortunately, it was definitely it was okay, but it was definitely I understand why it did not change the hierarchy of the DC cinematic universe.
Animated superhero movies are dominating right now. Those are the good ones. Live action movies are letting down.
Just animation in general, just TV. Like that's another reason why I haven't been in a hurry to go to the theaters. Like I'm watching, like we're like I watch a lot of like Netflix has put up a lot of great stuff. Amazon, you know, with the Boys spinoff, V and Invincible coming back. This is we're probably in the middle right now of like the best season of anime in like literal years, which is a pretty big accomplishment considering the last 5 years have been like some of the best years of anime of all time. But yeah, this particular fall winter run is like absurdly crazy. So I'm not even in a hurry to go see anything else because I have so much anime to watch. Like there's so much stuff you can just watch at home now. Like I forget stuff like is still coming out in the theater. Like I'll see stuff and I'm like, oh yeah, I guess I'll watch that when it comes on Prime or you know, rent you can rent because you can rent the stuff on Prime like usually a month later.
But I'm gonna go ahead and hop out. I'm getting calls about dinner. I've been ignoring them, but I am hungry.
Oh yeah, it's even this time we hit our quotas. Jay's back briefly. So
no, I had to stand up for a minute, and I was getting warm, so I wanted to take my hoodie off.
Fair enough. Well, appreciate everyone for hanging out once again. 19 inches of Venom. Thanks you as well. It was nice to once again have the game back together and be able to stream on both YouTube and Twitch. So if you're on the Twitch side, make sure you subscribe on YouTube. If you're on the YouTube side, make sure you follow and subscribe over on the Twitch side. Support these fine young gentlemen. Well, young-ish gentlemen below me and old gentlemen next to me. You can find them on YouTube, Twitter, Sadat the Gamer for me, Casual Avenger, J Shock Glass. We'll catch you next week. Maybe we'll try to get a guest at some point, but
I might be a little late. I'll be at Rhode Island Comic-Con. And I should be back in time because we're going down for 3. It's about an hour away. Hoping to run into Stephanie, last name
McMahon.
No, we had her as a guest.
As a guest.
Okay.
From Star Trek.
Yeah. So she's gonna be there. So hopefully I'll get to meet her.
I should have some availability this upcoming Friday, so I might be able to fill in till you make it back.
Black Power Edition. So be on the lookout. Be on the lookout for that. Appreciate once again Divine Shine, Blazing, Old Man Eastwood, Heavy, Sam, Billy, Lucky Ray. Appreciate all y'all. As usual, Cap Tay. Hope you're enjoying your PS5, my friend. We'll catch you guys next week. Next week is November, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, so we might have some. Who knows what the future will hold in November?
Everybody, send me all your money on Halloween. for my birthday.
Your birthday on Halloween?
Yeah.
One of my brother's birthday is Halloween.
Let's send Jay plenty of pranks on Halloween because it's his birthday. Send
them Bermuda bucks.
That backfired. Yeah.
Oh yeah, we're definitely going to be trolling you now for Halloween. Make sure you send him plenty of negative star field reviews. he loves those. I'm Sadat the Gamer.
I'm Casual Avenger.
No, you're not.
I'm Jay Shock Blast.
I'm the producer.
You're all fired. Zip it up and zip it out. Peace.